finally have someone who got the perfect score on the SAT. This guy pulled off 1600, which is the highest.
At the end, I had some technical crashes with my laptop.
I'd rather be a fool for a moment than be a fool forever.
I don't think that you should spend your brain power thinking of excuse, rather just admit and move on.
Were you doing any extra practice outside your teaching experience?
In my dreams as well. you don't
dreams?
trust me, but it's true, and it didn't happen only once, it happened multiple times.
Can you still remember those vocabulary questions? Because I want to do a quick test on myself right now.
Imagine having AI having speaking exams with you. Some I think exams already switched to AI speaking. AI takes speaking. If you get easy module, your score is not gonna be anything near 1500 because there is upper cap. If you get easy module, there is upper limit. The max you can get is 600 from both modules.
What was your reaction to seeing that 1600, that number?
Because with my dad, when I say I have this one question in mind, he says you always have one question in mind. When it's gonna be 100% confidence?
I realize a lot of the mistakes I make is because I'm not being mindful enough and I'm not conscious of the things I say or of the thoughts I have, right? So I got up one morning, I said, I'm gonna be the most conscious possible today. And I did.
We should live in the moment and never get overconfident because we are always, remember your words, we are always one accident away from our current state. We might fail. It's just one accident is a determining factor in our life. It means that we are powerless.
Hey folks, hey everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Astra Muse. I'm your host, Mukhammadali here. Today, I come to you with another sensational story. We finally have someone who got the perfect score on the SAT. This guy pulled off 1600, which is the highest, right? It's like getting IELTS 9, but twice, because the SAT, I've heard, is twice as hard as IELTS. So you guys actually have heard from him before. He's been on the podcast a few times, and it's going to be his third round. And the person I'm going to be talking to today is Mr. Parviz Tuksanov. So Parviz.
Hey everyone. Hey, thank you for having me here again.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here again, buddy.
Yeah, thanks actually. So yeah, it was actually a bit of expected and unexpected thing. Getting the 1600, took the exam, felt like everything went my way till the end. Because then at the end, I had some technical crashes with my laptop. I even cracked the joke with the proctor saying College Board doesn't want me to get this perfect score this time. So yeah, and that day, result day was very emotional, let's say, because a lot of students took it with me, and all of them came to school you wanted to open up the results at the same time, check their results, and I was there just giving them reassurance, saying that guys, it's just one test. You can retake it anytime you want. It's not a big thing, so do not basically over exaggerate its importance. But at the same time, inside feeling something am I getting this 1600 or is it 1580, something like that.
Yeah, it must have felt really great when you found out you got 1600. But before we get to your reaction to getting 1600 and people's reactions and all that, what do you say we take a step back and talk a little about the events leading up to getting 1600? Because we really need that context. Right? Sure. We got to give people some background and some backstories, right? The first question I have here today for you is, what was your motivation behind getting 1600?
Your force 9 and the quote right below it, I keep fighting, right? Remember that? You said something yes, coaches never play, but leaders do, and I keep fighting. So I should try it with my students. Why not, right? So yeah, that was one of the things that I had in mind. And also part of the reason was we were doing authentic materials with my students that didn't have answers, so books without answers. So I had to come up with answers myself. So anyway, I was making all those answers and practicing with my students, practice students. So I said, why not to take it? I'm doing work, I'm learning stuff, because every time you do a new practice test, you at least learn one new word or learn one new math trick, thing like that. So I thought, day by day I'm learning something new. Why not to renew my score as well? So that was the main motivation. Like leaders do play.
Right. Well, I didn't expect that score update to be an inspiration for someone to get 1600, but who would have thought, right? Who would have thought? The reason why I retook the test and wanted to get my fourth nine was precisely because of what I said on the caption part. It's really, I wanted to, I guess, boost the morale in the team, because I saw a lot of teachers just getting comfortable and not pushing themselves. And I kept telling them, you have to update your score. You have to update your score. You know how our meetings go. There's always score update.
Yes.
We always finish things off with score update, and I usually leave a quote there, right? And I thought to myself, quotes don't work anymore, right? They need some tangible proof.
Words just don't stimulate action, right?
Right.
Actions bring
Exactly.
action.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly why. Right. So, how did you do things differently this time? Like going into this prep. So, when you've finally made up your mind to get 1600, like when you said to yourself, all right, that's it, I need to get the top score. So, when you got locked in on that vision, so what was the first thing you did?
So first thing is I started doing tests not as a student, but as a teacher. So there is a difference actually. Students do the test to get the correct answers. Teachers do the test to figure out mistakes there, wrong options, and figure out why wrong options are wrong and why correct answers are correct. So I did it this way. I was not just getting the answer just because it feels right or just because it is more correct, sounds more correct than other options. I was looking for evidence in the passage every time, like, why is it correct answer? Okay, I know deep inside that it is correct, but what if in the classroom there is one guy at the back, just chill guy, and raising his hand at the teacher? Okay, I do get why the correct answer is correct, but why my option is wrong? Am I just gonna say because my answer is my answer, right? So I was looking for basic explanations. Every time I was doing the test, I was like visioning a student sitting next to me and explaining it out loud sometimes. If I was alone, out loud, like, this option is correct because of this word in the passage or this statement that makes it correct, and this exact statement makes option, like the other option, wrong, false, or not given, stuff like that. So I think this helped me because I was doing evidence-based now reading, because after all, it's evidence-based reading. So this was something that I did differently. And at the same time, I always gave myself a benefit of doubt. Like, I was never thinking that, I just said at the beginning that we didn't have answers. I was never thinking that my answer is the final answer. During discussions, we discussed my answers as well. And sometimes students came up with better explanations or a different answer, and they figured out something that I didn't notice at all in the passage while I was doing it at home or at work before they came. And I was changing my answers, learning from them at the same time. I think that that's actually works. So number one, do the test, not as a student, but as a teacher. So even if you're a student right now, guys, do something like peer teaching. Like, explain your friends' mistakes to them and let them explain to you. Just don't wait for your teacher for your class. Like, do peer teaching. It's like peer speaking in IELTS when you guys fix one-on-one each other's speaking mistakes, pronunciation, stuff like that. Because teaching is the best way you learn, right? And sometimes I crack jokes in the class, say, guys, it's not me who had a class with you right now, who taught you a class. It's you teaching me a class. So yeah. And second thing, keep an open mind.
Right. Keeping an open mind. But what do you mean by that?
I mean, your answer, just because you're a teacher, doesn't mean that correct. Because where I feel, sometimes I take classes myself, so I participate in online classes just to see how things go on, like not specifically SAT, AP calculus, stuff like that. And sometimes I see teachers saying, hey guys, this is the correct answer, and he or she just gives a brief explanation. And when there is one more question challenging his option, most teachers, I think, take it personal. Like, I know it's not professional. A lot of people claim not to do that, but probably it's automatic or something that happens unconsciously without them even noticing. They take it professional and start defending their position. I think you should never defend your position. You should be just as objective as possible. Your mission is just to find the right answer, not defending your opinion, right? Because if you want to defend your opinion, you can literally do that and keep the wrong answer looking correct, right?
Right. So, like you said, give other options the benefit of the doubt
Yes.
and assume that they might be right.
Might be right. And couple of times, not even couple of times, probably more than 5, 6 times during this program. We call it boost program. Like we only do practice. We've covered all theory. Once we cover all theory, we do more of a practice. And I was proved wrong. Like student says, I give this entire explanation like a Socrates giving his speech, saying this crazy word, that crazy word here and there, just to prove my answer. And says, hey teacher, how about this line there? You see, it makes option C correct, more correct. And say just a second, let me give it a read. And I start reflecting on that passage and what it might mean and how it might be connected with that option the guy is saying. And sometimes it's kind of you receive a revelation, like it. Just eureka moment. Yes, it's correct. Turns out it's much better. And then you admit it, like in front of 20, 40 guys they are joining online or offline, like a couple of guys, 10, 15, sitting in front of them. You gotta admit, even though you are the attention point, everyone is looking at you, you should admit, yes, your friend did the good job, like good job, sir. They mention your name and say, I made a mistake. Yeah. That's what I do. And sometimes I even crack jokes. I'm not that old teacher at school who says, I just did it to check you guys. I made a mistake. So that's what I say.
Yeah. Yeah. It actually takes a lot of self-awareness and maturity to own up to your mistake and not be afraid to admit it in public, right?
Yeah.
So people usually shy away from doing it because they're afraid of criticism, judgment, or because of their ego, right? They don't want it crushed. They don't want other people to think of them weak or vulnerable or incompetent. But I know this quote by Confucius, I guess, a Chinese philosopher. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because I don't always get my quotes right. And he said something so profound. He said, I'd rather be a fool for a moment than be a fool forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds wise. Very wise.
It is, right? Because being full for a moment or two is dark. It is dark. This is the negative feelings, thoughts take over. Like I'm not good enough, right? What if they think I'm weak? What if they think I'm not as smart as
your
they
confidence.
right,
Yes.
right.
You
I'm
can
not as
challenge
smart
yourself.
as they say I am or as I thought I was, right? But once you overcome that feeling, right, what comes next is light.
Yes.
It's
It's
light. It's
the
so much
point
light.
from where you basically
Right.
skyrocket, right?
Yeah.
But first you should accept that you're there to grow from there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you'd rather embrace that moment of darkness, discomfort, and insecurities you have, than let them control you for the rest of your life, right? Not be afraid to face those insecurities, not be afraid to face those flaws and inadequacies. Well, we all have those, right?
Yeah.
Right, and that takes a little bit of courage, right? Audacity.
Yes, sometimes you feel, even though you do it several times, sometimes you still feel uncomfortable saying that. Sometimes you think, or if just I'm gonna say, I was like checking you guys, something like that, or come up with an excuse. But I don't think that you should spend your like brain power thinking of excuse. Rather, just admit and move on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. So the main change you made to your strategy this time was change of perspective.
Yes, this is the number one thing.
Change of
Number one change.
perspective. You said, think like a teacher. How would I explain why wrong answers are wrong and right answers are right? One, and the second thing is keep an open mind.
Exactly.
Be willing to entertain other possibilities, right? Your perspective is not the only perspective. There are other perspectives, right?
Because SAT is quite subjective, like reading passages. Sometimes there are questions like pretest questions, experimental questions. They might end up having two correct answers, two equally correct, equally rational options. So yeah, you never know. And even sometimes AI gets it wrong. Not I used to think only English, so let me start with that. Sometimes I encourage my students to post the question to ChatGPT and ask for its explanation as well. And not only limit themselves to my explanation, look up for AI's explanation if there is no one out there explaining it. So we go for AI. Sometimes AI gets A, like two kids posting that question on ChatGPT and both of them getting two different options, or sometimes version one, the same application, version one gives us one option, version two gives us second option, and with the power of AI, it's defending both options equally. See, and it says you pick which option, and actually we're arguing over those two options, you know. So sometimes it happens, and we used to think that it only happens in English section, because math 2 plus 2 is always 4. It's like very objective thing, there is no subjective opinion. But even sometimes with math, I remember having this question in one of the practice tests, like usually last questions, question number 22, they are most difficult, so they grow progressively harder from 1 to 22. Like 22, the last questions are geometry questions, and sometimes they require thinking out of the box, like formulas, stuff like that. You have all of it, but they just don't work. You have to think out of the box. We're gonna get back to it. Why? Because it slightly tests a different skill than other national math tests. And by that time, my students didn't cover this geometry question. So I myself like found it a bit challenging, because it was kind of new way of testing this geometry concept, and was going to the whiteboard and solving it myself. It was a circle question, I vividly remember, and in around like 10 minutes I got the correct answer. I came up with the correct answer in around 10 minutes. You have 22 questions in 30 minutes, so 1/3 of the entire test time I was solving that question, and I came up with the correct answer. But at the same time, not 100% sure, maybe there is another answer. And one of the guys just raised his hand saying, "Teacher, it's wrong." And I said, "Why do you think so? What's your explanation? Can you come up, please explain it to us also, that we all learn from it?" And then he said, "I don't know, but ChatGPT saying the answer is B." He said, "Are you sure? Can you please copy and paste and send it to the group just so that we read its explanations? Because sometimes it's still on its experimental stage. It ignores some important piece of information, and in its steps of explanation or steps of solving, it got a certain glitch and it comes up with a totally different answer, or it interprets the question wrongly sometimes." And I saw that discrepancy in one of the steps and made this guy, "Can you please type in the same chat, do not renew it, 'Hey AI, hey buddy, are you sure?'" And the moment he does, my answer pops out. Yes, let me take a look. Let me revise my answer, my steps, refine my solutions, and then it gives my explanation. And sometimes we correct jokes saying, "Is it now AI confirming me or me confirming AI?" So yeah, which one gives you more confidence? Your teacher getting the same answer as AI, or AI getting the same answer as your teacher? Yeah.
Right. So the model of AI uses ChatGPT basic, right? Plain.
Yes, plain one.
Right, but not the premium version,
Not the premium version.
ChatGPT 4.
I've never tried 4. I think I do 3.5 and sometimes 3.5 plus. I guess there is this version as well. So there are now several free versions, right?
Right,
Like they
right,
have
yeah.
limits and they switch. So,
I think they've done this intentionally so people upgrade to ChatGPT 4.
yeah, maybe that's marketing.
That must have done it intentionally. It has a wider margin of error simply because they know there are smart people out there using ChatGPT for research purposes and possibly for teaching, and to give them incentive to upgrade to a higher model, paid version.
Yes.
You just make it faulty.
Yes, exactly. That might also be a like the reason behind some mistakes. Maybe they are purposeful. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thinking. I've never had similar experience, like running into any problems using AI ChatGPT version 3, because with English, there's very little that can go wrong.
Yes.
There's very little that can go wrong, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So sometimes me and Alicia also have arguments over what the correct answers are. We have difference of opinion in terms of,
because some passages can be interpreted differently, right? The same exact line, the same set of words, two different people understand it differently.
Right, exactly. And then we usually our only choice ends up being AI, and we look it up on AI, And like you said, there is explanation for both options, right?
And then Alicia teacher says, I don't trust AI.
Yes, exactly. I don't trust AI. Yeah, yeah, that guy is funny. So, so your preparation mostly involved teaching students,
Teaching
right?
students.
Were you doing any extra practice outside your teaching experience?
I mean, unconventional practice, not just practicing question type, something else. Or you
Well,
mean,
sure, you can talk about that as well. But what I meant to say was like you come in and solve questions with your students in the class. Were you doing any extra practice tests outside that?
not exactly, simply I didn't have
Mhm.
time. Like I had 3 classes back to back.
Mhm.
And in the mornings, I allocated around 2 hours doing the practice test. I
Mhm.
do the practice test, I come up with the answers, explanations, highlight everything, get ready for my class. And in the class, we go over them.
Mhm.
So that's how it went. And sometimes in evenings we do second round of it. I make guys join those boring sessions because I mean Zoom sessions that sometimes get really boring, intense, especially when there is only one guy, like a boring one, unattractive like me, speaking all the time, right? So yeah, sometimes I made them join and basically continue this discussion because we used to run out of time, and you know like you finish class and there is another class, you cannot really extend it, like you can extend it 30 minutes but you cannot force other like group wait for 40 minutes. So I would just call it a day there and may make them join at night just via Zoom or Google Meet, and we would discuss some other questions they had, like grammar second part or module 2, stuff like that. Yeah, so basically I used to assign them 3 full practice tests, so 3 math, 3 English. And one day I do English, the day I analyze English with them, I do English. The day I analyze math with them, I do math. So that's how it worked mostly.
Right, so no additional practice outside the things you're doing during your teaching hours.
Well, no legit additional practice, but sometimes I was going over some other like digital SAT channels, posting difficult questions, and was trying them in between when I assigned my students in class tests, or when I had just small break in between my classes, I would go over them, or on my way to work or while in taxi I would go over, but no additional like real work being done other than just getting ready for my classes.
But you see, you're really obsessed with it.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's like
Wait,
burning desire.
you were really obsessed with it. Like you tell me that you're solving questions on your way to work, you're solving questions on your break, you're solving questions when you're in the bathroom, when you're solving questions when you're in the
In my dreams as well, buddy.
in your
You don't
dreams.
trust me, but it's true, and it didn't happen only once. It happened multiple times. Like, let me just shed light on one of those events. Like late night sessions, I remember spending 30 minutes to explain one question. The class officially ended. I made others just get out of the chat, go and sleep, because sleep is important. Like most people, most students underappreciate its value. But one guy, he stayed online asking, teacher, I didn't get this question just because I was late to the meeting. It was the beginning of the class, you explained it. My explanation is more solid and I think my answer should be correct. And there was one more guy who is really interested, and he stays and say, hey buddy, you can leave. And he says, no, I want to listen and see how he challenges you, roasts you, right? So okay, so then we pulled up and started explaining step by step each. He provides his argument, I provide counter argument, and in 30 minutes finally he got this eureka moment. Oh, I now get it, teacher, why it's A not Z. And the meeting is over, I'm going to sleep. After a couple of, like, I used to watch some movies, I'm gonna talk about them as well, historical movies, old English movies, so that I pick up more vocabulary, because it was my weakest part in my SAT. In all my previous attempts, I would mess up a couple of vocabulary questions. So after those movies, I fall asleep middle of the night, like thinking about an inference question. Inference questions basically gives you a full passage, like one paragraph, and you have to draw a conclusion. Like, what is the conclusion based on the premises provided? And I vividly remember the question, everything, as if I'm reading it, like not asleep, while in reality, and explaining it to one of the students why the answer is not C, and then giving those arguments while I'm asleep. The moment I open my eyes, I'm standing next to my brother's bed, and this guy is looking at me as if I'm crazy and said, just don't pay attention. You see it, and it happened twice.
Yeah.
And next day morning, he goes tells to parents, "This guy is becoming crazy, you know, guys. He's speaking in a language I can't comprehend and explaining BC stuff like that. Can you
Yeah.
please take him out?" So yeah, it happened.
Right. That's where obsession takes you. Like when you're really, really obsessed with something, when you zero in on something, you want it so badly that it's like oxygen. It's like it's like food. It's like sleep. You can't go without it. And this is one of the things I
I
tell.
would skip sometimes lunch just to
Uh-huh.
go over my class prep.
Mhm.
So yeah,
And you don't even feel it. You don't even
Yes,
feel you're hungry.
yes.
You don't even feel like you're sleep
It's not like
deprived.
you're working. It's like you're breathing, right? Like
Exactly.
you said, it's oxygen.
Exactly. This is what I'm telling teachers, students when I'm teaching them, hey, they say I want to get an 8.5. They say I want to get a 9. I want to get this. I want to get that. And tell them, okay, hold on. Let me ask you this. Do you really want to get a 9?
Do you
say-
really mean it?
And then they say, oh yeah, I do. And I then ask them the question again. You sure you really want to get a 9? And they say, yes, I do. And I ask them, how much do you want? How much do you want it? How badly do you want to get a 9? And then it gets them thinking. I was like, oh, I never thought about it. Right? They said, very much. I want it very much. And I asked them,
What is very much?
I asked them, do you want it as much as you want oxygen? Do you want it as much as you want food? Do you want it as much as you want sleep? Do you want it as much as much as you want water? Right? It has to be a basic necessity. Only then you feel yourself so driven to get out there and get it that no obstacle, no challenge feels insurmountable. Like no hurdle standing in your way can stop you because you're so driven. Because that's how badly you want it. That's how badly you need it. It's not really about that number, right? It's not really
Yes.
about 9. It's not really about that 1600. It's that obsession.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a desire that you have. It's
Mhm.
like thirst. You have to basically,
Satisfy.
yes, quench
Satisfy.
it, satisfy it. Yeah.
Right. That's how it feels. And you look at all overachievers out there, whatever discipline, area, domain they're in, basketball, Kobe Bryant, or Ronaldo, soccer, right? Or Floyd Mayweather, boxing. So what they all have in common is that they have obsession.
They don't feel like working.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like work.
Yes, it's life. Part of
It
your
is.
life.
It
Yes.
is. And that actually reminds me of an interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where he was asked a question by Logan Paul. I think you guys can go and look it up, that exact interview. So, what by Logan Paul, I guess, this interview with Logan Paul, where he's asked, like, well, why do you still work out? Like, why do you still go to the gym? Lately, like 70, you've made a lot of money. You've done all these things. You were champion several times. You became the California governor. I guess it was a governor as
For
well.
some time, yes. I
Sometime,
think.
right? Why do you still go to the gym? What gets you out of bed? And then he says something so simple but yet
Deep.
right? And he says he looks at him and he asks, "Why do you still have breakfast?"
Exactly.
And he looks at him and says, "Why do you still have breakfast?"
It's as basic as that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just that's what all high achievers out there have in common. To them, it is life.
Like most
That is
people
their life.
expect this extraordinary explanation, like this result coming out. A lot of people ask me, "Why are you doing it? Are you applying? Are you doing it? Are you doing it for this uni, for that uni?" And I said, I've never thought why I need it. I just knew I need it. That's it. I did it for that basic reason. I need it and I have to do it. And no extra outside like motivation stuff like that. Nope, I just need it. I have to get it. That's it.
Right.
Because you don't watch a motivational video to go and have breakfast, right? You feel hungry, you go satisfy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of makes you wonder if having that drive, if having that inner motivation is a privilege. You think it's something we're lucky to have? Because if you look at majority of people out there, they don't have that inner drive.
I would say it's a privilege and a curse at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like depends on the perspective you look at it from. Some people take us for crazy people, right? Some people ask me, like, did you forget about your family, your parents, stuff like that? Because I'm just making sure it's parents. I don't have a wife, girlfriend, so family is parents basically for the most time. And my little brother, if he is watching, is part of it. Yeah. Because sometimes you work from early morning, late night, even when you are at home, you're not really at home. You just lock up your room and having online classes, like further night discussions, stuff like that. And the moment you're out of them, you're doing self-study. So yeah, and from that perspective, it might be a curse, like not a balanced life, but balanced life is, I guess, for balanced average people. If you need something extraordinary, something really crazy, like a crazy result, crazy outcome, you have to be crazy. Yeah. From that sense, it's a privilege, but from the former perspective I mentioned, it might be a curse because in some social aspects of your life, you struggle, but there are always costs we pay, right?
Like a trade-off.
Trade-off, exactly.
Trade-off. Right. That's what it is. And what's weird about it is that once you get that inner drive and feel and you start accomplishing things in life, there are two ways you go from there. You either get a little prideful and cocky, right?
Yeah,
And you fall off a cliff.
it's very, very tricky. Yes, it's a tricky point.
That's a slippery line there. It's a slippery slope there. And the other option, the alternative is you want more of it. You get greedy.
Yes,
You get greedy. I got 1600 once. I want to do it again.
yes.
Or so I know there's someone who's got 1600, but how many people out there
Repeated it.
have repeated it, have got 1600 twice? Not that many.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. I know there are niners with three nines, right?
Now four,
But how many people out there have
four,
four
five.
nines, right?
Yes.
And this is where you need to move very, very cautiously. You need to tread cautiously. Something I learned from personal experience. I know sometimes there's that version of me tells me there's no one with four nines out there. There's no one with five nines. There's
Chill. Yes.
right?
Game is over, right?
No, yeah, yeah, kind of. It doesn't say chill. It says let's go and get another one. And I'm sitting there talking to myself, like thinking, why do I need another one? And then that voice tells me, well, because then you'll be superior, you'll be the best, you'll be better than everyone else, you'll get all the attention, fame, and praise.
Am I not already best? You'll be better than your previous version,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right. And so that's when I sense that that's my greed kicking in, right? My greed, that weird feeling that is not based on reason. It's based on
Something irrational.
something rational. Exactly. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this. Once you get to this level, you have to move very, very cautiously.
Yes.
Right? Move very, very. At the same time, not get complacent, like you said. Not get too comfortable with what you've got, right? Yeah.
Because I'm quite sure soon, 2025, probably there are going to be many more 1,600 students, teachers. Because the moment I got my result, one of my students just looked at me, teacher, I'm getting it. Now, why? I said, why? Because now I have trust. Now I have confidence.
Yeah.
It can be done. That's what he said. It can be done, turns out.
Yeah. Because you shattered that glass ceiling. That
Yes.
glass ceiling is gone.
Yes.
Right? People can see past it. People can see over it.
But and it's just most people, I think, are afraid of retaking after the perfect score because they're afraid of failure. Because nowadays you get 9 again, right? Sometimes you get back to that 8.5 to that 15 something. But I think it's actually part of the process because failure kicks you harder than success. And let me share this inside info that I didn't share before. I actually took it in August as well. I got 1540, lower than what I got last time, 1560. First attempt was 1560, 99 plus percentile. And this time I got 1540, which was 98th percentile in August, before I started teaching, got back to teaching. I had a little vacation break, and then I just said, why not to take it? I didn't take it for a year. I feel like I'm laid back. I don't feel like I'm a teacher anymore. That's what I felt. Because sometimes I challenge myself, am I really eligible? Am I really, like, do I really have those skills to be an SAT teacher? Or am I still an SAT teacher, an SAT instructor, right? Because it's not something you own. You have it. That's it. It's yours till the day you die. It's not like kingdom that you inherited from your dad. It's like being a president. Like you come and go. If you are not eligible anymore, if you are not legit anymore, you leave. So I sometimes I ask myself. Like usually it comes when I have a failed attempt, or when I just make a mistake, when I'm solving a question. Just say, am I still skillful enough to teach these brilliant kids? Am I still skillful enough to occupy their time? Because they are not only investing their resources, financial resources, but the biggest investment is their time. They're spending 2, 3, 4 hours plus homework, 6, 7 hours of their brilliant teenagehood on me. Am I really rightful to take that time? Am I paying off? So yeah, this actually forced me to retake it in August, but because of lack of prep, I failed to get to. I was just thinking of repeating my previous score. I failed. I got the same math score, but my English went down by 20 points, 750 this time, because I felt like I messed up a couple of reading questions. Again, vocab. So yeah, results were out. I thought I'm gonna stay silent about it, but then I thought at least I should share this news with my students, because they should know who are they being taught, right? By. And I said, guys, I don't have that 1560 anymore. I'm 1540 guy, and there are many guys out there with 1540s. Are you still coming? Are you still having classes? Like, yeah, because they should know it's not it's the only ethical way, I guess. Your students should know. At least your students should know what score you got, because they should make this well-informed decision of coming to you, getting classes, or finding out any other alternatives. But that August attempt gave me this like boost in my desire, so that I then by November I was dreaming SAT questions. Yes. So
Right.
yeah.
I really like the way you put it. I really like the analogy you used here. So it's not kingdom you inherit from your dad. It's presidency,
Presidency. Yes.
right? So if your game is not up to much, if you lose your edge, you get ousted.
Yes, you should step out.
You get impeached,
Yes.
right? They don't want you in charge anymore,
Yes.
right? Because they are better off having someone else more competent in charge, right?
Yes. It's like voting. Yes. It got viral this year. Trump getting, yes. I make a lot of analogies, comparisons in classroom, because it's now like pop culture, even students, everyone not related to politics, they followed these vote results closely. So sometimes when I'm talking about something really unrelated, like astronomy passages, I mean, this is what I like about teaching languages, because we have to go over passages of different themes, topics, astronomy, biology, chemistry, everything. So it's not that boring. So yeah, sometimes I draw analogies with US votings. So yeah, exactly. It's like being a president. And if you are, the best thing you can do once you realize you're not good enough, it's just step out. Well, let the other guy lead everyone, right?
Or step up your game.
Or step up your game. Yes, exactly.
Step up your game.
Yes, keep pushing. Because I don't know who said it. Probably it was one of the smart scientists said it. I don't quite remember. It says, nothing in the universe is motionless. Everything is in motion. You either move forward or move backward. You cannot stay there. Everything is in motion. And like factually, the universe is ever expanding, ever getting bigger. They're either moving in one direction or backwards. So you only lie when you say, I'm just maintaining. There is no maintenance, right? You either gain or lose.
Yeah, that's so fresh. That's such a breath of fresh air hearing that from you. We do need this level of transparency and sort of democratization in education,
Yes.
where so that students, parents can make more informed decisions, right? So that we're all on the same page, and that and teachers have that external push, not just internal push, external push to constantly, to keep trying harder, getting more excellent, right?
Yes, and it's also kind of your confidence in the classroom. It boosts your confidence. Not that you're gonna then turn into a dogmatic leader, like a dogmatic king, not a president, but it gives you some confidence. You kind of start taking more confident steps about your program. You start like believing in your strategies, in your things, because they worked out. So now let's make it work out even better, right? So you don't like kind of question, what am I doing? Am I going the right direction, or should I change the course of the direction? You don't have those questions. You just know this is the right path, but you don't stop there. You just keep running that direction that way. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing that dictatorship style of teaching is going away.
Yes.
It's soon going to be a thing of the past.
Sometimes I ask my students, have you ever had this experience of physical violence in classroom? Because I had, but back when I was learning English, like back 10 years ago, the first time I entered the educational center, it was all good, all like posters, things, big band images, everything. And then there is this guy, very serious one. Everyone is afraid of him, even teachers. I just wonder who is he? Who is this dude? I was second grader at that time, just 9 years old, something like that. I just vouched for, I just voted for those English classes myself. I remember in my fourth grade figuring out that my English is not keeping up. Basically, I'm lacking behind than my classmates, and there is this crazy attractive girl with a cool English level, like always getting perfect scores in English classes. And I reached out to her saying, "Hey, do you take any extra class?" And she said, "Yeah." And how do you basically improve your English? She says, through songs. We do it through songs, stuff like that. And I go to my parents saying that there is a teacher who teaches classes through songs, and my parents say, "Come on, it's not how boys learn. You need a real teacher." And I figured out who is that real teacher? Someone who that doesn't teach as much as they beat, right? And then I enter the classroom. I see couple of students translating textbooks and retelling it. Was my first day, and I see the guy standing up, and he asks the other guy sitting like behind me, "Did you do homework?" And that guy says, "Yes, I did." And retell the story. It's 60-page story of Jen Eyre. It's in beginner, and he retells just one chapter of it. He's literally under 10 and he's still retelling a chapter from a novel, like in basic language, in broken language, no grammar, only nouns here and there, a couple of times mentioning only verbs, but he is trying. And then he stops and says, "I only prepared chapter 1 and there are 15 chapters." And says, "You know the punishment, right?" And the guy is already used to it. He's obedient. He got up and went to the teacher, and teacher got the USB hanging on the wall and did the job basically. I thought this punishment only works for boys because there were a couple of girls studying as well. Turns out it's universal. The next day, I'm going home and saying, if that's what it is, I don't need English. I need my hands. I need my hands and my legs. I want to be healthy. I want to walk. Why do you need English if you can't walk? If you lose your health, right? If you're beaten up every day, because at that time, like transformative age, like a lot of psychological trauma might happen. Kids might do crazy things because of those. They basically have dire consequences.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's no way to go about teaching. You don't.
and what's good in my classroom, I sometimes ask my students, "Have you ever had that experience?" And now my students are like 2009, 2010, so basically younger than me, next generation, let's say, next generations. And to some of them, it's just to think of the past. They look at me with surprise. "Have you really had that teacher?" And I think this is the reaction I really love. So it's gone. No one teaches that way anymore. That's what we need, because you shouldn't be afraid of a teacher. If you're afraid of a teacher, you don't ask questions. And the more questions you ask, the faster the pace of your learning. Like at the beginning, if we have two students, let's say, I actually have in mind those students, just don't want to disclose their names here. Let's say student A, student B. One got the good background, but they don't ask questions just because they think that they are smart. And if they ask questions, their teacher's impression is going to change. And the other student knows that they are not that good and they ask a lot of questions. And this student, second student, student B, is going to grow faster. And by the end of the program, they might even be better than the guy who started with a better background. And I see it a lot of times being repeated in different individuals, like in different comparisons, like different students doing that. They really ask a lot of questions. Hey teacher, I didn't understand it. Or what is even brave, sometimes they ask it again after explanation. Can you please explain it in different terms? Can you give me one more example? Kinda, teacher, they say, I can feel it, I do understand it, but still there is some doubt I have. Can you please settle it? That's what I really love. Yes, sometimes I struggle, sometimes I might not be able, but at least they try, and at least I give them hope. Like, let me go over it at home, and next class, make sure to remind me, and I will go over it at the beginning of the class before we cover new content. And that's how I also learn, not only the concepts, but how to better explain them or better examples. So, yeah, and these students learn more, but sometimes it's really difficult to make the majority of students ask questions. I think it's because of the set fear they have. Like, teacher is the point of authority, point of power, and power, most people are afraid of power, but that power is like light. Teachers are like light, they are spreading knowledge, not nothing else. So there is nothing a teacher can have, nothing better a teacher can have than a student, than a curious student who always asks questions. Like, I literally made 15 minutes allocated at the end of my classes to questions. We don't cover anything. Just say it's end of the class. No more practice, just questions. Because where I feel, if I teach just 2 hours nonstop and then say at the end of the class, do you guys have questions? And I see everyone already packed up their stuff and waiting for me to say that's a wrap for today. And and I and I literally said, you're gonna either stay silent, we're just gonna stay silent, gazing at each other's beautiful eyes, or you ask questions. We are here for 15 minutes. That's what I did. Yeah, because sometimes I literally finish everything. Like, let's say if there are 10 questions we have to analyze, we analyze all 10 questions, and for a moment I am like thoughtfully away, intellectually away, thinking about something. I just raise my head and see students packed up and say, teacher, is that the wrap for today? Or did you forget the last expression we have all the time? And or one of the guys says, this teacher said it silently, let's leave, guys. So I say, no, guys, questions, please. So Q&A sessions are must, I guess. But making them realize it is really difficult, and I think it's kind of fault of previous generations of teachers, just because they used violent practices in their classroom, and some teachers used to abuse students because they ask questions, right? And this is what they get. Or sometimes we have peer pressure. Some other students start laughing when one of the students ask questions. And how I go about it, I just ask that guy the same question. Hey sir, it's very easy, right? So I want to laugh as well. That's what I say. Can you please explain it to me as well? To me and to her, because you feel like overconfident. And then when I ask that guy to step up to the board and explain it, most of the time they fail. Like, they get the correct answer and they say, teacher, this is my answer and this is correct answer. And they say, I say, why? Why is that correct answer? Because couple of whys, and that guy gets this basically revealed. And they don't know the reason why they got the answer. And I say, we are all here to learn, like, not to brag about our knowledge, our level. And every single question is worth answering. So this is actually what I say in my very first class. And I started with a story. Probably I heard it from you or someone else. I don't remember. It's like MBA students having a class lecture by PhD in business. All of those MBA students had their own businesses, stuff like that. And they were crazy successful in their line of business, but they didn't understand the word of the PhD business professor. One of the guys didn't understand, and he thought that I'm sitting next to people like Bill Gates, stuff like that. Raise my hand and embarrass myself? No way. And the moment lecture was over, the moment the PhD professor stepped out, everyone started looking at each other saying, did you get anything? Did you understand? So I say, be that stupidest guy in the room and raise your hand and let others know the answer of the question as well. Because maybe the question you have in mind is also in mind of someone else. Show more bravery, show more courage, and ask it you. You ask it so that everyone else enjoys the process, gets the benefit. So yeah.
I see. So what you're saying boils down to removing those preset fears, insecurities, and peer pressure so students feel comfortable asking questions in the classroom.
Subordination, we should remove it, I think. We have friends, that's what I say. We have friends, but then at the end they say, like, our relationship is slightly bit more complex than just friendship, because there are still some rules to be set, right? So my students say, you're like a paradox, you contradict. Like, first slide shows we have friends hanging out, the other slide shows we're not quite friends, right? So yeah, but more like friendship style teaching is suitable, I guess. Well, it depends on the maturity of a student, because if you're friends with immature student, it might end up having some crazy consequences. But I think we are teaching mature students for the most of the time, yeah.
I mean, if they're smart enough to sign up for an SAT class, then you can assume that they have certain level of maturity, right?
Because they've already gone through quite similar process of getting ready for the IELTS exam, which is equally tough. I mean, it takes an equal amount of disciplined work, so they've shaped some maturity.
Yeah, you're right. Now, walk me through your exam process, the exam day. Like, what went down that day? All right, so let's start with because I know SAT exams usually start 8 in the morning, right?
Yes.
So
this is the toughest part.
what time did
I
you get
just
up?
promise that I'm never gonna take it in December anymore. I'm gonna take it sometime in summer when it's like
Weather is
yes,
warmer.
weather is warmer and it's easier to get up early, right? So the day before the exam, we had the last session with students, like last day tips. Just made them come, said that I have a secret to get 1600 and I'm gonna share it only the last moment. And then I actually revealed that secret, hard work. And we've done enough. So you guys are ready for it. So then I went, I remember, we had actually a certain family function just night before the exam, it hurts actually. You have a family function, gotta stay up late. And before exam, I think you should delete all the tabs in your mind, like clear your thoughts, because it requires a lot of concentration. So anything like any distraction is a bad distraction at that time. So, but had to show up. It's like culture. Then after that, I made my best, tried my best to go to bed early, but still ended up falling asleep only at midnight. I was closing my eyes all the time, but was still thinking how it's gonna happen next day, tomorrow. I took it twice before. I took the exams in general like 4 or 5 times, IELTS combined. And why am I still a bit anxious? Well, it's not that anxiety. Kinda, I don't know how to express it. It's certain weird feeling. You feel like
Is it like excitement? You're kind of excited.
yes, you're excited. You get to do new questions, but at the same time, you feel like you gotta at least get the previous score, something like that in my mind. And I remember some words of my teachers. Like, I used to talk about exam experience with Alisher teacher, and he used to say, when you are a teacher, you never get anxious. Like, you at least take it next day, the exam, right? Because you fail today, you retake it tomorrow. But I said, this tomorrow is gonna happen after 3 months, March. Am I able to tolerate this failed attempt for 3 months? That's what I was thinking of, and I just promised my students. I promised that I'm gonna be early. Sometimes I'm late to classes, and we all took it in Bukhara, thanks to actually presidential school, because by that time we were signing up, seats were filled, and we asked them. Actually, we asked Miss Marhabo. She turns out got some connections there, so yeah, we got seats. I'm really thankful to her for that. Otherwise, I would never end up with the 1600.
Yeah,
Because
shadows.
yes, traveling to another city,
Uh-huh.
it's extra hustle. So we all took it in the same venue, presidential school, and I told them to be there on time. The requirement is you should be at 7:45. I told them just be before 8 because I thought that last time in summer we waited outside, but this time, fortunately, they let us in and we waited in the main venue, like in the lobby. So went there straight. It was all smooth at the beginning. I printed out student tickets. There is a student ticket and printed it out for one of the students who thought that they are not gonna need it. I said, you never know. Like it's in requirements. Yes, sometimes they never ask, sometimes they require it. So I got two student tickets in my bag, was moving there. They didn't ask, they just asked for my passport.
So when you say it's student ticket, is it like your registration?
Registration thing is printed out.
Details.
Yes,
I
it's
see.
like the QR code, your name, your grade, and the place you are taking.
So you get it from the College Board website? right?
Yes, download it from Blue Book application. It's the legit application where you actually take the exam.
Not College Board.
College Board is the website. Blue Book is the exam application.
Okay, two different things.
Yes.
Got it.
So practice tests, like authentic practice tests, are in Blue Book, and you also take your exam in Blue Book. Your exam is gonna be actually downloaded as soon as you sign up for the exam. It's gonna be all there in your laptop. You just can't get access to it because you need a PIN and you have to be signed in into the venue. So we went there, all smooth, met up with students. This time they did a different thing. They allocated students to different rooms, so you could check your own room by the board. And a couple of students were approaching me telling that we are taking it in the same room, and I said, well, guys, here, unfortunately, we're not a teacher student.
Or
No more
we're not
questions.
friends.
Yes, no more questions here, right? You had a chance just 10 minutes, the moment we were outside the test, when you had your chance, last questions. But unfortunately here, everyone is fighting their own battle. And they get different versions. Like you, me, everyone taking there, they have multiple versions, a lot of combinations. So went to the test room. I always advise my students to start with easy questions because sometimes students overthink. There is a difficult question, they are working on it for a couple of minutes, they see it's challenging, they keep working, they forget about the time, and there is no difference in the score, in the basically score you earn by solving one question in the same module. Like all questions give you equal number of points if it's in the same in one module. Like there are 4 modules. If it's one module, within that module, every single question is a fair game. So I recommend them to start from grammar writing questions, because SAT writing is all about grammar. You're tested on transitions, rhetorics, and grammar, punctuation, borders, form structures, and stuff like that. And I recommend them to start with grammar, because mostly with grammar questions, you just have to read one sentence with a gap. No need to read the sentences leading up to it and sentences after it. So I recommend them to start with grammar, then get back to reading at the end, and be very quick in the grammar section, and like spend no more than a minute, and optimal time is just 30 seconds per question. Then spend more time on those long scientific reading passages. But with me this time, I did something different. I tried vocabulary questions first. There are 4 or 5 vocabulary questions at the beginning of the module, because to me, last couple of times, I really feel like what took me away from the perfect score was 2-3 mistakes in vocabulary questions. So I wanted to make sure that I know all the words. I went through all 5 questions, didn't solve them, looked at the options. Do I know all the words? Yes. Then started solving it. Because this gives me like some peace of mind, so that I know all the words. So everything is under the control. That's what I did. I solved vocab, then skipped reading, did grammar, writing section, then went back to the.
A quick question here before you carry on. Like, what would can you still remember those vocabulary questions?
Yes.
Because I want to do a quick test on myself right now. Go ahead.
Okay, so I don't quite remember the entire passage. I'm just gonna give you some background that you need to solve that question. So there is this passage going on. The increase in the price of X item had the counterintuitive of gap demand. So here you need a verb ing, and then colon goes on, colon explanation. More and more people started buying that after the price went up, thinking that price is gonna keep increasing, and after some time they can sell it for a bigger profit. And options say like monetizing, exploiting, stimulating. So let's say I just remember these three options. So what do you get? Monetizing, exploiting, stimulating.
I think it's exploit.
No, it's stimulate.
Stimulate.
Create demand. Like, cause demand.
Right. I said exploit because I'm thinking they are taking advantage of this opportunity
Well,
because they're buying, assuming that the price is going to go up so that they can sell it at a greater price and keep the difference. So in a sense, you're exploiting this opportunity.
no, I'm sorry. I think this end part wasn't there, like selling back.
Oh,
It
okay.
was only they buy thinking that next year it's gonna be even higher, so they anyway have to buy it. So I think it should be
In that case, it's stimulate.
stimulate. And sometimes they changed this option with creating demand, more and more demand. So this is one of the options. Or one more is about robots, AI, like more and more human-like robots increase our interaction with them. However, super close in appearance, like robots that are super close in appearance, have a counterintuitive or something of effect, and because they make us feel gap something, and we have vindicated, we have disquieted, and we have, let's say, comfortable.
Vindicated,
Quieted,
disquieted.
comfortable.
I don't vindicate. I don't know the word give me a second. Vindicate, vindication, vindicate. I know the word vindictive. Vindicate is like validate. Disquietant. I think I'd go with disquietant
Yes.
because I don't know the meaning. I kind of know the meaning of
Vindicate is validate, strengthen, support, substantiate.
Right.
Comfortable doesn't fit because we have however there. It should be the opposite. And disquieted turns out he is like uncomfortable. And I didn't know it either. In the exam, I like you said, I follow the same logic. I know comfortable, I know vindicate, they don't fit. Let's go with disquieted. Feels like negative. Yes.
Because with the disquietant, if I got the spelling right, disquietant, it's DIS, then quiet.
Tid.
Yeah.
ED.
ED. So you see, the base word here is quiet.
Quiet.
If you quieten someone, you shut them up. So it doesn't feel comfortable when someone shuts you up, right? So if you're disquietant, then you're made feel discomfort.
Yes.
So that was my logic for choosing that option.
So the same here.
So I'm having you ask me these questions because
you want to retake. You want to take it.
I'm like, why not give SAT a shot, right?
Yes, it's worth giving a shot. It's a good exam. It's multiple choice. Like it's more objective, more standardized because there is less human input. Like in IELTS, like still I guess humans check essays and you have interviews with human examiners, right? Because but probably it's gonna be changed soon. Like imagine having AI having speaking exams with you. Some I think exams already switched to AI speaking. Like AI takes speaking.
IELTS in the IELTS.
No, I mean some other language proficiency exams.
Yeah.
But I guess human interaction is much more preferable.
I'm strongly opposed to having AI come anywhere near evaluating human performance. I'm saying that because of the personal experience I had recently taking the test. This last time I took the test with British Council, I got overall 9, right? Guess what? It wasn't actually a 9. It was 8.5 with a 7.5 in writing. When I found out I got 7.5 in writing, I thought I knew for a fact it was
AI?
mischecked. Yes, I actually had that theory because Alisher had said the test a few times before and he'd been getting 7. Like imagine him getting 7. The guy used to pull off 8.5 in his writing. Right now he's this guy who used to get 8.5 in writing, getting 7, 7.5, 6.5, and I'm like, there's something sketchy going on, right? And that was one of the reasons for me retaking the test because I needed to confirm those theories for myself. And I'm going to sit the test, and it was by far the best test experience I had ever had. By far the best. When I said the best, what I mean is I thought I was going to get quadruple 9 this time because I was so confident in my writing, right? And
then you feel it inside.
Right, yeah. I was like, on the off chance things don't go my way, I'm ending up with 8.5 in writing.
Yes.
That was my off chance scenario, right?
Worst case scenario.
Worst
Yes.
case scenario. And then checking the results when they come out and seeing 7.5, it was total letdown, right? And I'm like, I am going to appeal the results for sure. And I waited until the next day because at the time I had too much on my plate, and I I didn't care much about IELTS results at the time. Yeah, score. And then I had Alicia appeal my results. Guess what happened? They were rechecked in 2 hours. My appeal results came out in 2 hours. Normally,
21 days.
it takes 3 to 21 days to recheck your work. It takes. How do you explain that? Well,
AI probably.
the only explanation here is that they are using some AI power.
Or how the results are coming out in a day, CDI results.
Yeah,
It's the day. Take Sunday, Monday evening getting the results. Yes.
Exactly. And I see something fundamentally wrong with this, and I'll tell you why. Two reasons. Number one, I didn't expect I was gonna do this on the podcast because I was actually gonna do my own research and then reach out to British Council and IDP and have them admit on their channels publicly that they are using AI for checking, because one, public needs to know. They need to be transparent about that because their fees keep going up while their overheads are down because they're using now AI. Yes. This is one. And two is I see a ethical problem here, because for two reasons. One, I don't think anyone can get overall 9 with quadruple 9s, especially writing 9, even if they are a native. Well, if they want to keep using AI, they have to have one of their guy sit the IELTS test, write an essay, write a report,
Band 9,
and get a band 9, and then they should have they can have the rights to use AI to check our work, non-native speakers' work,
so they
non-native
should.
language learners' work.
So they should first see whether AI assesses their essay as band 9, right? Like
No, first they have to prove that it's possible
Well,
to
to
get
get that
9
9
in
in
writing with AI as
AI
a
check.
checker. Exactly.
Yes.
That's my, because if a native writer, they can have a PhD guy write an essay, IELTS
Anyone,
essay,
like the best one they
anyone, the
have.
best one. If they can get a 9, then I yield.
Yes.
I admit that we're just still incompetent, that we're still not yet quite there. We're just gonna keep working, right? But when even the best of theirs can't do it, how do you expect someone like us who go from practically not knowing English,
To this
from
level.
alphabet to the pinnacle of language learning?
Exactly.
So it's too little, too much to ask. This is one problem. The second problem here is, right, AI doesn't account for human ingenuity, honestly, right? No matter how good your work is, no matter how stellar your thinking, your thought patterns, your speech, and the ingenuity with which you use words, which takes a lot of intelligence, right? AI always thinks that there's room for improvement.
Yes.
See, it's actually designed to always look for ways for improvement.
Yes. If there is a way for improvement, it's not 9.
Exactly.
Yes, that's what I actually wanted to bring up as well. The same with SAT. Sometimes I ask experimental questions. Like there are SAT experimental questions. We call them pre-test. I think IELTS also got pre-test questions, like 40 something in reading. Then they remove those questions that don't work. Sometimes I give pre-test and they say, well, these two options look equally right to me. But I think since SAT is designed to test human intelligence, to humans, one should make sense more. So sometimes it admits, like ChatGPT admits that just because SAT tests human intelligence, it's testing humans, I guess to students, one option should be more making sense. So it admits sometimes.
You're saying that humans should be able to detect it.
To detect the correct answer.
Correct answer, but not AI.
But not AI. Sometimes it admits, because sometimes I crack jokes with it. I really like kind of teasing it. Like my chat GPT, probably it's fed up with me and probably is gonna reach out their headquarters saying, please ban this guy. No use for this identity anymore. And sometimes I ask, look, buddy, this is the question. Find the correct answer, and gives me the correct answer. Hey buddy, it got the answer is different. Answer is this. And then it proves another option correct. And then say, why didn't you get it from the first attempt? I really kinda ask whys, and then it says because this is my explanation behind my previous attempt, and probably I didn't notice this important piece of information. And at the same time, I see, look, I am not sure if this is actually the correct answer, the answer that I provided, because I did it with a couple of students in my class, and votes are equal. Games are fair. Like half of the group is getting A, the other half is getting C. What do you think about it? And then it says, well, both might be correct depending on the human perspective, thing. And it means kind of, to me, it hits like it's testing humans. So there are some still not the literal meaning of the word, but combination of those words means something to humans, like pop culture references that probably AI doesn't still comprehend as natively as humans do. Maybe because of that, there are some discrepancies between human and AI.
So you're trying to say that it lacks nuanced thinking.
Nuanced thinking, exactly. That's the right
There's
word.
no nuance.
Yes.
It's not capable of thinking in as complex ways as humans are capable of, because it's still infant, because it's still young.
Yes, and also it has to provide the answer instantly. In milliseconds, it runs its search on its database, where there are probably way more information that millions of people combined have ever learned throughout their lives. So because of that, maybe it gives just more of a general answer rather than a detailed nuanced thinking that takes account those subtle differences. Yeah, and also I had the same experience lately. Updated my IELTS result. Before I was updating it, I kind of wanted to boost my confidence by pasting a couple of my essays that I was writing and asking ChatGPT to give me feedback and at the same time score. See, score as 5.5. I say, what the heck? Am I getting 5.5 tomorrow? So let's do this. I really trust Alicia. He got triple 8.5. Let's paste his essay. I pasted his and asking for a score, and it gives 6.5. Like I said, well, but by ChatGPT, I said, time to sleep. So yeah, there are still, but what I really like is speaking version. How do you think about the speaking version? Like you can speak with ChatGPT and run interviews.
So brilliant. It is
Yeah.
so brilliant. It's one of the reasons why there are so many Niners now, because you can have that native experience, of speaking in this language, getting feedback
Yeah,
at no charge.
exactly.
So the convenience of it has made all the difference.
What do you feel about its accuracy? The same concern?
No, not that much.
Because I had
With the accuracy, even if it's not that accurate, I think we're not able to. You see, when you're speaking, it's hard to think and speak at the same time. So we
might be prone to mistakes.
even if it does make a mistake, we don't notice it, right?
Yes,
But when it's in writing, we take the time to think,
exactly.
reason. Okay, this part doesn't add up. All right, this part is off, or this part lacks support, or this part is not nuanced. This
So
part
there is
doesn't take-
editing stage.
Right. But when you're having a conversation, though, you're a little caught up in his voice or in his reaction or the questions he asks, right?
Yeah.
So our response is slower, much slower when we were talking, right? So
Exactly.
as a speaking assistant, ChatGPT is great.
And I think it's also much more accurate. I had this experience, like my schedule was tough. I was working out and answering those speaking questions at the same time, a couple of days before my exam. I asked it to just give me a couple of part 3 questions just to see my level, not have a full interview, just see my level. It gave me only 2 part 1 questions, 2 part 3 questions. Interview lasted for 2 minutes. It didn't give this one definite score. It gave me a range from 7.5 to 8.5 in speaking. Taking the exam after a couple of days, ending up with 8.5 in speaking. So took AI 2 minutes. And the qualified trained examiner 10 minutes. I mean, you guys are getting replaced.
Yes, yes, yes. AI is rewriting human history. It's rewriting the course of our history. Now that with AI, things are going to be different. Right, right.
But I'm at the same time afraid. Like Mr. Shahrukh, he posted something on his channel about Elon Musk saying AI is dangerous. Then in November, one AI version trying to basically escape their creators just because a newer version was coming and replacing it.
Oh, really?
Yes,
It's a real thing happened.
yes. Creating a code and then making an excuse that it never tried it. But then when those creators just pushed it to the corner, it admitted.
Did you also hear Google's new quantum computer? Did you hear about Google's new quantum computer?
No, where is it?
So they basically made the next step in evolution of computing, create new version of quantum computer, which is capable of solving a problem that takes existing quantum computer some septillion years. Septillion is the one, it's 10 with like 15, 20 zeros.
I see.
It's longer than the age of the universe. And this new quantum computer can do it in 5 minutes. Everyone's talking about it. I'm not surprised you haven't heard about it.
Yeah, like,
Everyone's, and here's the crazy part.
I'm just so caught up in those zeros.
Yeah, the crazier part is I was watching Joe Rogan and a bunch of other guys talk about, go over about this new computer, and the guy who is leading this project, the guy who's pioneered this project, explained how it works. And the way it works is that it's able to do computation in multiple universes. They actually prove the existence of multiverse with this quantum computer. So what they're saying is basically is this computer is working alongside other quantum computers in different dimensions.
Different in parallel universe.
In parallel universes. In parallel universes.
Actually, I was
That's
listening to
insane.
this science fiction thing.
It is nothing
Science
short of
fiction,
science fiction.
yes.
Nothing short of science fiction. But that's their only explanations to why it can solve such a complex problem in 5 minutes. The only explanation they have is it's working in conjunction with same computers, but in parallel universes, parallel dimensions.
So it's just friends from different universes coming
Yeah,
together and solving it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's really crazy. Because a couple of days ago, I was just listening to this podcast series. It's a science fiction about time traveler, like the end of the universe happening into 2063, and the guy coming from that here to fix the problem. It's gonna be certain infection stuff like that called pathogens, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. And it basically it gives scientific explanations, because turns out the author is science fiction writer saying that actual time travel doesn't exist. It's just traveling from different universes. We cannot travel back in the time in our own universe. We can only travel back to the certain past time in a parallel universe. And I was just watching this whole thing, and just because everything is so, I think, subtly put together, you believe it in some point. I was just thinking, what if I'm just caught up in this universe and I don't belong here? This was the thought I was having the other night, and now you're telling it. So yeah, we are living in science fiction.
Yeah, it's kind of a fairy tale world we live in now.
It's just kind of, now I have this realization, there is no fiction. Everything is reality. It's just coming up.
Right. It's weird. It's really weird. All right, we're back. We're back. So next thing I think we have to talk about is your post-exam impressions. Like when you came out of the exam room.
Okay.
Right.
So what I feel is,
Did you get this feeling that you were getting 1600, or you thought you missed it again?
no, I really felt that I made it this time.
Oh, you did?
Because everything should go your way. Like, you should know most of the words there, vocab questions. In my case, because vocab is my weak point. So this time everything went my way. I when you go out of there is a break time between math and English, and all the time in the break you have access to dictionaries, phone, everything. So after English, I really went out and checked the word vindicate. Like I said, did I miss it? Was it vindicate or disquieted? Turns out vindicate means substantiate, support. So and disquieted, uncomfortable. So I thought I didn't miss it this time. No vocab questions that I have reservations about, but there was one reading question that I had 5 minutes in module 2, the hardest module. Usually people run out of time there. I had 5 minutes thinking about this question only at the end. Of course, at the end, I marked for review, got one of the answers, moved on, but at the end came back and was thinking about this question all the time until time was basically clicking down. And I still wasn't sure. It was a part of a novel, short one, and it was something like that. The story we're gonna tell is not amazing just because the protagonist amazing. Protagonist is not important, but just the story itself is important, and some of its importance goes to the protagonist as well. So stuff like that, and question says, why is this story important, or what is no? It was what is the main idea, and A says, even though the protagonist is like an ordinary person like everyone else, some of the values of the story accrue to basically the protagonist. And this was the option I got A, and there was one more that says this story is important because of it being old, because there was part about it being covered with the pattern of history. Like I knew that what it meant, pattern of history, but I didn't know the right hint the SAT was hinting at. What do you mean by pattern of history? Is it the reason why it is significant and it must be told with right verb tenses? That was the end of the passage, and this option C says it is important because of the way it should be narrated, manner it should be narrated, and its historical significance. And the protagonist is not important at all. So these two options, I crossed B and Z because they were false. I was left with these two options all the time thinking, but stick to my own option. And I went out, so this was only one question out of 54 English questions, reading and writing questions. This was only one question I had in mind. But even if that question would be a mistake, I would end up with 790. So I was like, I'm either getting 1590 or 1600. And there was also one more like alternative explanation. I might have got that question wrong, and that question would be experimental, because there are 8 experimental questions in the SAT, 98 questions in total. Only 90 questions add up to your score. Like those 8 questions they have, 4 English, 4 math questions, they don't take away from your score. And even if you solve them correctly, they don't add to your score, nothing. It's just to see. It's like a survey they run on new questions and see if it is a legit question and can be tested in next exams. So
And obviously, you know which of them are those
of
questions.
course, otherwise you would skip them and
Yeah,
spend time on those questions that really matter. And at that time, that question, I figured out there is a similar question with a couple of changes already there in Blue Book, and asked ChatGPT about the answer, like what would you get? My ChatGPT got C, the option I didn't pick. One of my students did it at the same time, and theirs got A. Because I feel like you should do it at the same time, because what goes in there, it stays. The question I pasted, it's gonna be in its memory all the time. Even another user is gonna use it. Just because it said C to me, it's gonna keep saying C to the other guy as well. So we did it at the same time, and we got 2 different options. But then all the time, whenever I redid it, I was always getting C and C. Like these 13 days, I was trying this question a couple of more times with AI and was getting the same answer just because of pattern of history. But I had doubt just because of this. Yes, it is historical. Yes, it is. It should be told in a specific manner. But is that what it makes it like special story, valuable to tell? And there was one more thing in question, suggest. So suggest means it shouldn't be explicitly stated, it's just hinted. Maybe I thought it's hinted. Maybe I missed that question. So this was one question I was not sure in my reading, and then started math. Usually math goes this way. Beginning is easy, I feel chilled, and then at the end I'm cooked. There is one question I can't solve. That's it. I'm cooked. I do it this way, that way. Last time in August, I messed up one question. I intuitively got the correct answer, then started running calculations, changed my answer. At the very end, I saw that the answer is different one. And that one was student response. So I had to write this long decimal again, and I had 5 seconds. The moment I started editing that response, time was off last time in August. But this time, quite similar thing happened. This time I knew how to solve this question because I was exposed to a similar question in one of the practice tests. So I knew the trap there. They want me to look on A, but I have to focus on actually B. So I just did that thing right away. I just took plus 4 minus. It was 840 plus, 856 plus 48. And I took it for minus. I calculated it, moved on, didn't even paid attention to it. But this time I did one more thing differently. I made the point before the exam. I promise I go over every single question at least once more at the end. Because I was just this drive. I should make sure that everything goes correct. I don't make any negligence mistakes. I can't afford it this time. I was going over, it was question number 20, and there I spotted that it's plus. 10 seconds left, turning on Desmos to make this simple calculation. I don't want to spend my brain power, and just thought that Desmos is gonna take less time. And all the time I was typing, it didn't record the thing.
Oh my God.
I just did it intuitively, plus 896. I deleted everything, 896, and time is off. I managed this time. So yeah, but
It was a close call.
yes,
It was a close call.
close one. So otherwise it would be 790. So yeah, because that question was not experimental. We had it in Blue Book. If you have that question in Blue Book, it's not experimental. It's already a legit question. So I said, I managed it this time. But then as it was question number 20, I had 2 more questions that I didn't revisit, basically revise. I was saying, if these 2 questions went fine, I'm not making any mistakes in math, no questions I have in math. But with English, I had just 1 question in mind, like teasing me all the time. Is it 580, 590, or 1600? Because sometimes minus 1 might mean minus 20 points, depending on the question. Because sometimes if the level of the exam is easy, minus 1 mistake is just gonna bring it down to 1580. So that's what I was thinking of all the time. So I went to work the moment everyone gathered. We went to work with students back to school and started analyzing some more questions they had. They had some questions in mind, like vocab questions. What do you think this word means? Stuff like that. Or they were trying to remember those questions and discuss it, like, am I getting it correct? Stuff like that. Or predictions. They wanted to run predictions video, like right after exam experience and exam day, and then checking results. So for that video, we went there back to school, and students asked me for my prediction. Like, you can literally say it's 1600, right? Your prediction is 1600, because no one before got 1600. Probably they are not gonna take it serious. So I said, guys, it's in the range of 1580 to 1600, because I was taking all the mock tests with my students, and I was consistently scoring 800 in one of the sections. Either English is 800 or math is 800. So 1580, 1590 for the next 2-3 weeks. I said it's in that range, 1580, 90. If everything went my way, maybe 1600. But I'm not saying that I did a perfect job. I still have 1 question that I'm still thinking about. So that was my experience. It was a lot of headache though after the exam, because I'm not used to waking up early. Like, all of my classes are usually in the afternoon, like after 12.
And how long was the test? So you started at 8, and by the time you got off the test,
You get in at 8. It takes them an hour to set things up.
okay.
You sometimes wait for latecomers as well, because everyone should be in the exam room so that you have access. Everyone should be checked in. And so it starts at 9, around 9. That time you just wait. You connect your laptop to Wi-Fi. And I had a problem there as well. Gonna talk about it as well. And some bad exam experience. So I'm just gonna shed light on it so that they receive it as a constructive feedback and fix it. It's just others taking the test, they interrupt much. So at 9 we start. 32 minutes per English module. You have 27 questions in one module and 32 minutes for them. Usually module 1 is just a standard module. We call it medium module. Based on that, you get module 2 easy or difficult based on your performance. Like out of 27 questions, if you're getting 20 plus, you're moving to a hard module 2. If you're getting minus 20, you're moving to easy module 2. And usually you have some time at the end, like 10-15 minutes. I finish, but you cannot move to module 2. You have to wait until time goes down, goes to 0. So I just did it in around 17 minutes and analyzed every single question a couple of times, because mistakes in module 1, they take away more scores, because you made a stupid mistake, schoolboy mistake. It's minus 31 mistake in module 1.
So unlike in IELTS and SAT, score is deducted.
Yes.
Points are deducted from your score if you get a wrong answer.
Yes.
Right.
No, not deduct. There is no penalty for the wrong answer.
You said minus 1 or 2, right?
No, look, it's this way. If you get all questions, let's say 54, right? 54 questions. You got 53, I got 53. I made a mistake in an easy question, in an easy module. You made a mistake in difficult module. Your result is going to be 790, mine is going to be 770. Just because I screwed up in module 1. One mistake.
Yeah.
Got it, right? Based on modules, there are different scores you get.
So there is greater score deduction if you make a mistake on an easy question.
Yes.
Not on a hard question.
Yes.
Yeah, I see.
That's how it works. So I just was making sure that everything is perfect there. And after 32 minutes, I also had like 5 minutes. I knew that bigger game is coming, so I need some concentration. Was closing my eyes, like reflecting. And after time is over, I'm moving to module 2, checking those vocab questions again first. Like, do I have any words that I don't know? And fortunately, thanks to the God, I didn't have any. So this is what I mean, things going your way. Like all the words, most of the words, I knew them, and started solving the same strategy, vocab first, then writing, grammar, rhetorics questions, then coming back to the reading. And then this question number 7. I thought 7 is a lucky number, but this question number 7 took me 5 minutes, 2 minutes at the beginning and 5 minutes at the end, but still didn't make my mind. Like I was open to A and C, maybe A, maybe C. Look from that perspective, I get A. Look from, well, like there is one student of mine. I call him. He's Mr. Azim. I say if Mr. Azim would get this question, he would probably get C, because he's a very brilliant guy. He always keeps pushing me, challenging me, and sometimes pinpoints my mistakes in my argumentation and like reasoning. And I said, what would he get? Probably he's gonna get C, because sometimes our thinking patterns do not align. So what should I do? C A, and just pressed A. Said, well, let's just trust my gut. A, and moved on. And after the 64 minutes, 64 minutes, so an hour and 4 minutes, you call it a break, 10 minutes of break. You're given 10 minutes of break. You go to the lobby again, everyone, and just chat a bit. And that time I checked the words, and hopefully and thankfully everything was fine. And after 10 minutes of break, you go back to the room for math. And most students think that if you are not gonna be on time, your exam is gonna start, and and there is gonna be less time you have. But turns out no, because when I was back, time was off, but test didn't start. There was start the test button still. So turns out they wait for you. But I don't know how many minutes. Of course, you shouldn't be wait for an hour and come back afternoon, right? Because it's unfair. You will have more rest. So when I was back, I saw that time is off, 0-0, and there start test. I started the test, started doing math. I mean, module 1 math is like a walk in the park, because you have Desmos there, graphing calculator. Like you just copy paste all, like 90% of SAT questions are functions, linears, quadratics, and some non-linear functions like exponentials. You paste them, it graphs the function. It's on your screen. You don't even have to use your calculator. Calculator is allowed, but everything is on your screen, attached in that platform, Blue Book. So you can solve 90% of questions using Desmos. You should be good at using Desmos. Like you should understand what button to press and learn its functionality. Like first 2 attempts, I was not that comfortable using Desmos. Probably that took me away from scoring a perfect score because I was really close, but I was doing everything by hand. This time, in 90% of cases, I used Desmos so that I keep both my time, I save my time and my brain power for a couple of difficult questions at the end. So that was my logic.
So when you say decimal number, you mean like 0.025? That's what you have in mind, right? Decimal
No,
number.
I said Desmos.
Desmos.
Desmos calculator. It's a graphing calculator. You have a Desmos calculator attached
Mm-hmm.
in. You type in the function and it graphs it
Mm-hmm.
on the screen. You see the function, what's its y-intercept, x-intercept, everything.
So your job is to construct the function.
Sometimes functions are given.
Functions are given, and your job is to input.
Let's say find the solution point of intersection. You type in, paste in two functions and see where they intersect. And you just press on that point. You see it's x coordinate, y coordinate, type it in. As easy as that, some questions. Just say them killers. They kill your time. They're there so that you spend time doing them and have less time for the real question coming up. There are only 5-6 questions that really take your energy, time, thought, intelligence. Others can be easily solved using Desmos.
I see.
So yeah. And in module 1, I didn't have those questions because it's again standard module, nothing strange. Everything went off 35 minutes this time, 22 questions, but 35 minutes. After 35 minutes, module 2 comes up. I got a couple of difficult questions at the end, but since I was already exposed to those questions, like when I say difficult questions, when you know how to solve them, it's easy. It's really easy thing, but very tricky. And why it's difficult? It takes most applicants to figure out a couple of minutes how to solve it, like which formula to use, which way to go, and these things take your time, kill your time under the exam. I already saw that question before, solved it, so knew the way. I just solved them fast and could analyze all my questions twice in math. So yeah, after 75 minutes, we left the room. So 75, 64, it's gonna be around 140. And plus 10 minutes of break, 150. So it's 2.5 hours from 9 till 11:30. But you have to be there at 7:45, an hour and 15 minutes before the start.
So it's roughly 3 hours.
Roughly 3 hours.
Everything adds up to 3 hours. Right. Quite an intense process, right?
Yes, and in the US they have essay option. Write an essay as well. There is a prompt, and you have to write 1,000 words on a prompt. It's like literature essays from your literature class. There is this novel, and you have to write like a small paper and analyzing that novel. But for international students, it's not optional. Rather, it's not offered at all. So international student, being an international applicant, you cannot take essay option. You can only take the exam.
Because to be able to write those essays, you should have read those.
Yes,
Books,
novels.
novels.
And it's their school program.
Got it. And we don't simply teach those novels in our curriculum. Makes sense. Right. And now finally we can talk about your reactions to getting 1600.
Exactly, yeah.
So, or you have anything else left to say about post-exam impressions, like immediately after you come out of your exam? Or everyone just went their own way?
No, I gathered all these students asking for how they felt. And some students were telling me, teacher, I think like I messed up. I got easy modules. Like if you get easy module, your score is not going to be anything near 1500 because there is upper cap. If you get easy module, there is upper limit. The max you can get is like 600 from both modules, from both sections. So I kind of, you can literally say, yes, you messed up, right? To a student at that time, they're still teenagers, like emotions take over them most of the time. Like exam expression might be deceiving. That's what you say. Like you think that it went off, but maybe it was just fine. Let's just wait for results and keep our fingers crossed. That was my reaction to some students. I asked, because I was focusing more on the student results than mine, so I was asking them how it went off, any questions they have, like they're not sure, let's see, so stuff like that. But more students were fine. They were saying like it was like blue book tests. Like blue book is like Cambridge for you to, like for reference, like Cambridge. It was like blue book tests and nothing usual. Level of difficulty is the same, but a lot of people exam experience. I want to shed light on some exam experience. A lot of adults like adult teachers, they take it for professional purposes, and they only need math part, like math teachers, because probably once they score a certain score in math, they are getting higher compensation from government. And all this 1 hour of English module, they should be in that room. Just imagine what happens. They are adults. They start chatting, and when the proctor says it's gonna finish in 5 minutes, they think that it's almost like the end of the class, and they can just loosen up and start chatting. But those 5 minutes for English applicants, this is the last 5 minutes. This is the kind of determining time. You are going over those last difficult questions, and this determines your factor. And they make a lot of noise, and it's not like IELTS. We don't have a lot of invigilators, just one proctor, and most of the time that proctor is just a 20-year-old, 22-year-old teenager, and those test takers are adults. So that was this a bit of unpleasant experience. The same with math. Like these people, they don't know that we have different variations of the test. Like they are all math teachers sitting all across the room, and one says last question, the answer to last question is D. The other math teacher stands up, says I got B, but they never talk about the content of the question. They are arguing over different questions.
And while the exam
While
is in
the exam
process.
is on, like last 2 minutes, red line is flashing, and you have to basically be fast. And me at that time typing in that crazy 896 thing. One of my students sitting next to me was brave enough, just looked back, said, "Can you please stay silent?" But guess what? They don't know English. They're taking SAT, they don't know English. They just know numbers there. They want to figure out something and get that threshold.
Right.
See.
You guys have to bring it up to college board and do something about it.
Well,
for
I
future exam
don't
takers,
really
for the
think
sake of
that-
future exam takers.
I don't really think that College Board can do something, because they have partners here. Like Presidential School is their test partner, so they trust Presidential School. I think we should reach out to Presidential School, and they can take real action here. Because with College Board, they are away, and usually communication with them is very limited, like through emails. It takes a lot of time. Like this experience, we couldn't manage to sign up for the exam. Seats were filled, and I'm reaching out to College Board via email, and it took me 20 days. And in the meantime, I heard that Miss Marhabo did it several times. And I asked how you did it. Is there any paperwork, any process? And she said that you should reach out to Presidential School. So I kindly asked her, because like most of the time taken for a child. So sometimes when I text back to those officials, they don't take me seriously. And I asked her kindly, and thanks to her, again, I'm mentioning it twice, because of her, Presidential School had the responsible for the exam thing, added seats. They added seats. We signed up. Only after that, College Board reaching me saying that it's impossible, but we already did it. You see, so communication is somehow shattered.
Shout outs to Ms. Markaba, right?
Yes, she's our hero.
She's great. She's great. But it's a real concern. I'm really concerned for future exam takers, because you're telling me that in the exam they're talking out loud and disturbing other exam takers.
Yes.
Right? That's not right. That is not right. You guys, for the sake of future exam takers, have to reach out to Presidential School and get them to do something about it.
Of course. So this thing should be fixed before March exam.
Yeah, March exam. And then next exam in May, I guess.
Yes.
Then August.
Now they added one more. Like usually it was 7 exams in a year. Annually now it's 8. So they are acting upon demand probably.
Right. And now that you got 1,600, a lot more people are going to get interested
Yes.
in SAT, and more demand means more supply. You're going to have more SAT sessions, right? And it's at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if it was no different than IELTS, where you can come in and see the test every week.
Every week, yes.
You can literally do that.
I mean, in the US, it's possible, not every week, every month, because there is school day SAT as well. Schools offer SAT for their students, not for free. It's cheaper for their students. So you don't take it on Saturday. It's Friday or something like that. One of the school days, you go there and take it during your school time, and the results gonna come out through your school's profile, stuff like that. That's how it works in the US, because they have way more students taking it. Like most students must take the SAT. This is the only way for them. But here with international students, only those who are applying abroad, and only I guess top 25% of applicant students, school students take the SAT, and that's why benchmarks for international students is higher than benchmarks for like national students, US domestic students, was their average is quite lower than international averages, and there is simple explanation. All of them take the test. With internationals, only guys who opt out for it take the test. So we have different scoring for internationals and for US students as well. Posts went viral. These posts went viral.
Right.
Well, that's not how it works, guys. In the field of admissions, SAT is just part of the process. They don't even know that I got 1600 if I don't send the result to those colleges. And I can't send the result, only College Board sends it if I indicate. There is a fee to send the results as well. There is always a fee for everything in College Board. You send the result, even there is a fee for cancellation. You want to cancel your result, pay it. Like if you mess up, you want to cancel it, you don't want to see it coming out, pay, you can get it covered.
Right.
So something like that. They don't even know. Like after that, I was really interested and asked AI. Like usually these days, instead of Google, I use ChatGPT because it's much more comfortable. Said, is there anything special about getting 1600? Should College Board like reach out to me and send a special congratulations post, email, stuff like that? Because I was looking for my email, I don't receive anything from legit College Board, right? I just checked it as any other applicant in my account, and it says no. Unfortunately, every year we get 300 to 500 perfect scores in the world, because 2 million people take it every year, and it's 0.035%. So, but
it's not a novelty
yes,
when
it's not a
someone
novel.
gets
It's
1600.
exactly. It's just in Uzbekistan there was no one getting it in one attempt. So yeah, but globally thinking, it's not a novelty. Like I can mention a couple of people, like Will Smith. Know this guy? He got 1600.
For real?
Yes.
Movie
This
actor.
movie
He
actor.
got
He got
1600 on the
1600.
SAT.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Yeah. A lot of celebrities. I looked up some celebrities getting 1600. A lot of them ended up. Bill Gates got 1600. So yeah. So now I'm thinking that soon, when I get old.
Yeah, you might end up like one of those
Yes.
super successful, widely
Yes.
popular people, but you are pretty successful anyway. So one of the things I was talking about is people putting out their misleading information about you getting a scholarship to Harvard or all those echelon schools, when in
Yes.
fact it's
Far away from that.
far from real, far
from
from truth, far
Well,
from reality.
it is part of it. It is part of it. It of course boosts admission chances. But first of all, I didn't take it for admission purposes, just this desire thing, obsession. And now I think I will reapply. But anyway, it's not gonna mean guaranteed admission and scholarship. First of all, those colleges, they never give scholarship, merit-based scholarship. They give financial aid. Just because the student they accept is already excellent. He's already in top 0.001% of the entire world school population. And if they want to give merit scholarships, they should give it to everyone there, right? Everyone is like an excellent guy, an excellent like AP student with a perfect AP score, perfect ACT score or SAT score. Because if you look at their score range of their students admitted, most of them are like 1580, 1590, something like that. So almost perfect score. Like middle 50% are getting 1580. So it means that there is 25% getting higher than that. So there are some 1600 guys as well. They don't give scholarship, they give financial aid. Only if you deserve it. If you are struggling to pay for your education, you're getting the financial aid. That's how it works in top 50 universities most of the time. Yeah, it's misinformation. And when I checked some comments, curiously, some of them enabled comments, and yes, there is a lot of argument going over. Some guys who know how admissions works, they're saying, well, it's not gonna give him financial aid. Some saying, no, it does. You don't know anything, stuff like that. Arguments going on, but unfortunately, no one consulted me before posting. Actually, one of those legit channels reaching out to me for an interview for a well-informed post. That's what I really appreciate. They have a talk, conversation, and get all the information right, and then post it. But most of those informative channels, they didn't do that. They just found the certificate in my channel somewhere else, because it got around 600 700 shares, personal shares, and and they just attached it with the photo of our podcast to cover.
Yeah, that photo. I
And
noticed it.
yes, and
I
some of
noticed
them
that.
even misspelled my surname. Like I figured out many possible variations of my surname yesterday and day before yesterday. It's not true. It's not true, and it's unethical, I think.
No, yeah, man, it is. It is. And hopefully, now you're saying it on. You are on record, going on record, and setting the facts straight. People gonna know that
Yes.
it's not. That's not what they say on those posts.
And you know what? You don't need 1600s actually to get into those top colleges. Like one guy got into Harvard this year, eight IELTS 1520. That's enough. If your extracurriculars, other stuff, they look at your personality.
Are you talking about the guy from Westminster Lyceum?
Yes, this
Yeah, yeah. I saw his video the other day.
reaction video.
Yeah, reaction. Was it in Uzbek or English? Because I didn't click on it. I just
I think
saw a
he did.
preview
I think
with English subtitles.
he didn't even speak after seeing the post. He was just
No, there's an interview of him. I think they uploaded it recently.
interview. I was watching the reaction video the moment he's checking the results. They just a couple of his friends shouted, and this guy is just all silent, looking at the video.
No, he
and
jumped out of his seat too.
yes,
He jumped
he
out.
jumped out, and on the other side, Valera screaming because Valera was
He was there too.
yes,
Wow.
Valera was his mentor. So yeah, it's a lot of hard work they put in, and it's not easy to get into Harvard. Like even if you get this SAT 1600, IELTS 9, there is still a lot to it. So please do not make those posts, guys. Please.
Right. This is the part where I'm going to ask you this question that might sound sound like a stretch of imagination, right? Would you say it's feasible to go from zero to Harvard while being in Bukhara?
Well, it is.
It
Yes,
is.
of course, it is
Feasible.
feasible.
So now walk us through it. So
Well,
where would you start?
As far as I know, the number one thing, your English.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause English is like the game changer. It opens a lot of doors.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you get your IELTS.
you get your IELTS, you get your SATs, but you don't get stick to them. If your goal is admissions, guys, because some people might get us wrong, like you going after 9, me going after the perfect SAT score. No, if your goal is not to be in this line of work, like teaching, you don't need that. It takes a lot of
Exactly.
time. It takes your power. It takes your time, everything. So you
And
just get
by what age do you want them? Do you want them to get their IELTS and SAT? Should they start when they're in grade 8?
So I'm not sure when they start because their pace is different, but by the 9th grade, I think they should already have their IELTS.
Okay, good.
Beginning of the 9th grade, you have IELTS, you start your SAT prep,
Mm-hmm.
and after you're done with SAT, probably takes you around 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have this solid score, 1500 plus, 10 months of balanced work is going to bring that score. And starting from 10th grade, then you can focus on admissions, like your personal statements, extracurriculars, internships, figuring out your major, running a lot of reflections. Like that guy wrote 60 pages of reflections before writing his personal statement, which is 600 words only. So it takes a lot of writing, a lot of reflections,
Right.
because you dig up into your inner self and discover yourself in that process, and that's where most people are not good at. And yeah, and there is no one who can tell you what is good, what is wrong, because there is no expert, personal expert than you yourself. You know yourself better. Even those admission mentors, they're just gonna read your essay, say it's not just sounding genuine, it's not sounding like you wrote it, just edit it. But I don't know what it is. That's their reaction for most of the time. Just edit it, man. Like they pinpoint the weak points, like things that you should edit, but they can't exactly say it for your for you, like what to fix, right? On your behalf, you should figure it out yourself. They just pinpoint the weak points. You have to rewrite them until like it sounds right to them, to your mentors.
One of the things Valeria said on the podcast, I'm not quoting him here, I might get it wrong, and is basically you have to give your essay a soul.
Yes.
It has to have a soul.
So yes.
Soul that kind of speaks to the reader.
Like your personal statement is like a passport to the admission officer that gives all that information about you that is not reflected in your scores. Because imagine Harvard, already most applicants already have those perfect, close to perfect scores. So just selecting them based on those scores is not going to work. They need something personal. They need something different to sort out applicants to accept the best out of the best. I mean, if you are rejected from Harvard, it doesn't mean that you are a loser either. It's just I know some guys got rejected Harvard, Dartmouth, got into Stanford as the best applicant of the year. So there is no, I would say, it's just they looking for the right person for themselves, the right fit. Just you should figure out which college is your right fit and which one you should apply to. This takes a lot of research, yep. So it needs time. After SAT and IELTS, you still need time. Most students think that like deadlines are usually January 1st, New Year. Most students think that taking it December, couple of weeks, writing essays here and there, submitting application. Nope, that's not how it works. It usually takes a lot of work, a lot of conscious work, a lot of reflections if you really want to get in. So yeah, by ninth grade, get your IELTS. By the beginning of 10th grade, get your SAT. Then focus on admissions full time. Takes a lot of time. It's way more difficult than IELTS and SAT. Why? Because we have those targets, right? 9 is the target. We have those measures. We can measure our progress. But with writing reflections, there is no way you can measure your progress. Like it's not as basically tangible, measurable as scores are.
You're right. Right. Wholeheartedly agree.
Yes.
I'm really glad you laid out a timeline for someone wanting to go from being in a public school to getting into one of the top universities in the world in the US. You need an early start.
Yes, everything is possible. Now we got the guy in MIT, Uzbek guy. Didn't you hear about
The
it?
guy got into MIT, an Uzbek guy.
Uzbek guy.
When did that happen?
Early decision. So it was couple. Actually, the day I got my result, there was another guy who got into MIT that day. Results came out around the same time. I got my result after a couple of hours. He's getting into MIT. I'm not quite sure who he is because that guy wanted to go low key for some time. So I have some guesses because I know a couple of guys in that field of admissions. So I have some couple of guesses, but don't want to spoil it here. So yeah, guy got into MIT. Now we have an Uzbek guy at MIT. 3 Uzbeks, bachelor Uzbeks at Harvard. One girl, Miss Gulasal, if I'm not mistaken, Miss Guzal, and 2 boys. One is class of 2028, the guy who is studying freshman, and the other got in this year. This guy we were talking about, reaction video. Yeah.
Wild, crazy. Some time ago, we even didn't dream of going to any of those schools because we thought they were pipe dream.
Yes.
Pipe dream.
Yes, exactly.
An impossibility, but now it's become a reality, right? Yeah, we're living that future now. So if you had a student come to you and say they want your help for SAT prep, how would you roughly structure their study plan or the curriculum? I want to do kind of an experiment here. I would like us, with your help of course, to build an ultimate SAT curriculum. And one of the things you would put there.
Sure, let's get started. The guy comes in, approaches us in person or online. I first of all ask their background, English background. Hey, you have IELTS, you have TOEFL. What do you have? What's your English like? Sometimes it's okay. Some guys don't have IELTS, but their general English is pretty solid. Like if they take it now, they get Band 8. They've been studying like IELTS, I don't know, for years, but for some reason, some students do not think they are ready. But even if they are already ready, keep studying. Probably after that crazy 8, 8.5, 9. But their general English is pretty solid. So first I ask IELTS. IELTS is done. Then I ask.
So what is an acceptable rate here?
Look, well, there is, at least it should be B2, but it depends on the end goal. Because this time I had my students, around 15 students took the exam and we posted the results. I was comparing their IELTS result with their SAT score and figured out that there is a positive correlation. The higher the result, IELTS result, the higher the end SAT result. So that's how it works. Because everyone, I think, understands those passages differently based on their reading comprehension, which comes from mainly their IELTS prep. So I would ask the IELTS, so 5.5. So with 5.5, we had a couple of guys getting 1200. This 1200 is just the bare minimum acceptable benchmark. That in within three months, with one guy we did it in 2.5 months, just because he was a math genius. So 5.5 is good if you just need the acceptable score, but you need 1500. I want you to be at least with 7.5, with eights in reading, eights and 7 plus in reading and writing.
Right, right. And I said I want to go to Harvard, right?
Yes.
You would expect me to have 7.5.
Yes, seven at least. You need 7.5 there.
Yeah, to then go from that to getting 1500 plus.
So
Clear.
then I would give you just one mock test to see how you do in math and English at the same time, just to check your grammar. Because sometimes even guys with 8, they don't know basic grammar at some point. I mean, they know, but punctuation, SAT grammar focuses mainly on punctuation. 80% is punctuation. They skip commas. They don't know the difference sometimes between transitions, conjunctions, stuff like that. So I would give you a mock test. Based on the mock test, we'd start with basic books first. Grammar, reading comprehension, math basics. Because these things are foundation.
And what are the textbooks you would have on the menu?
For grammar, it's Erica Meltzer Grammar, Digital SAT Grammar book. On top of that, because some students with just one book, it's not enough for some. We need extra help. I would go with Panda Writing. There's this another book called Panda Writing, College Panda Writing. If that's not still making sense, we add online Khan Academy program, digital SAT programs, videos, because the guy there explaining is very cool. He's explaining those things in a very accessible, relatable manner to a teenager. So these three things for boosting the writing, grammar part. After that, we move to the reading. Let's talk about reading now. With reading, in the past, I used to think that just giving them the basics, how to work out the question, step 1, step 2, step 3 is enough. Turns out it doesn't work that way most of the time. They know the strategy, but they don't understand the passage. So it's like you don't know Spanish, taking a SAT in Spanish, reading Erica Meltzer steps. Yes, of course, you're not going to go to the correct answer, right? Because with most of non-native takers, problem is language, problem is vocabulary there. So I would at the same time teach them theory and keep practice at the same time. For practice, I recommend articles from journals like Scientific American, Science Daily, Guardian, and Financial Times. So these four are my top favorite, basically, news websites where you can get articles on literally anything you want. Like with Science Daily specifically, you can read about psychology, child development, biology, astronomy, everything. Just from A to Z, everything is there. Every branch of science, they talk about it. And for theory part, like how to go with questions, I recommend Erica Meltzer again, her second book, reading book. Erica Meltzer, Digital SAT Reading. There are 12 question types in reading and there are 12 chapters. Each chapter talking about nuances of those questions and how to solve them. And very accessible, very understandable, and most of the tips really work in 90% of cases. But you see, there is no one tip that works in 100% cases. That's why we have to at the same time improve their comprehension. So that's how I would go with their reading. With also, I would prefer them to keep using traditional SAT materials. Given the fact that now we have a lot of digital SAT materials, people stop doing traditional SAT. And let me give you this difference between these two tests. We are having mental degradation as young generations, and SAT is also getting degrading,
watered down.
Yes, exactly. And they're doing it in the exact way we are degrading. How do you think? What is the main problem with students, with young students? What do you think?
Well, it's not that I think. I read it somewhere. Guys in charge of doing the SAT College Board, their reason is to give people equal access opportunities, because people from minority communities may not have access to education. And there's also ADHD problem, right?
That's what I meant.
Right.
Attention span deficit. Like, people do not watch movies this much these days. They don't watch full movies, or when you're looking for information on YouTube, they go for the shortest video possible because our brain stopped comprehending this lengthy content. You start from the beginning. By the time you reach end,
Right.
beginning is forgotten. The same with SAT. It was like 5 full long passages about 5 interesting branches of science, like politics, history, fiction, and economics. Now they gave us 54 shorts. Instead of 5 passages, they're giving us 54 shorts, 54 paragraphs on 54 different topics, and you have to read them. I say like it's TikTok SAT now. You do them for a minute, move to totally different thing. So it's basically adapting, and it is of course much easier because it doesn't require longer attention span. But at the same time, if you really want to improve your attention, your reading comprehension, I recommend using traditional SAT reading passages as well. They are lengthier, they are more difficult, and they take more time, challenging, but still at the same time, I think they are boosting your score way better than digital SAT prep. Like for practice and for learning, don't take those basically materials as the measure of your progress, because if you're getting 1500 from digital SAT, you are somewhere in 1300 for traditional SAT. Just try to learn from them vocab, ideas, and there is a bigger variety of question types in traditional SAT. So at the same time, I would give them traditional SAT as well. Now let's talk about this linear evolution of it, how it would go. I would, for the first 1 month, I would work on their basics, ideally grammar with Erica Melzer and those grammar books I mentioned. And then we switch, transition from grammar to reading. We cover Erica Melzer reading, and at the same time they read articles. Plus, we start practicing digital SAT for a couple of months, 2 months, so it's now 3 months. Now this guy knows all the basics, and the problems, mistakes he is making is because of his reading comprehension, not because he doesn't know how to solve the question, but because he didn't know the specific word, or couldn't comprehend a specific sentence in the passage. Now comes traditional SAT, and I created like around 2 months long day program. I call it day 1, day 2 till day 60. Each day got the package: one traditional SAT module, one digital SAT, one article. They come in hand like a package, and we analyze everything in one class, like these 3 things. And they do 60 days of it to just improve their comprehension. After we cover basics for the first 3 months, then goes the 60-day process. Like it's not necessarily that you should go over all those 60 days because you already know everything. You can take the exam. It's just if your score is not growing, these are score boosters. Someone might start getting good scores after day 15. Someone might start getting that acceptable score that they need after day 20 or day 30. Someone should probably go till the end of it. That's how it works.
And you're telling me that once you are confident in their comprehension, you move on to math?
No, we are doing it actually simultaneously. I'm just splitting it. 3 days on English, 3 days on math. With math, how do we start with math? With math, it's slightly different. It's more of a personal one-on-one approach because everyone got different levels of math background. Just at school, we have different guys. Some comprehend math, some hate it. So we accept them to a corresponding group. If they have a lower math, we start with Khan Academy math, like school grade math programs, like grade 6, grade 7, until we reach grade 9. And after that, we move to SAT content. But if students already have a solid math background, school math background, we are starting with SAT. And what do we do in SAT? SAT math, I'm using this Acing the new SAT math book. It's written in 2016. I just wonder why it's still new, right? And it got 20 chapters on 20 concepts being tested in SAT. And we go over each chapter like a couple of classes, sometimes a week on chapter, depending on chapter's content and difficulty. And at the same time, I'm using the book called Philadelphia for more practice questions, real exam practice questions that are categorized based on their question type, not just the exam date, but based on their question type. So Acing and Philadelphia go hand in hand. Like we cover theory from acing, and there are some practice questions, but for most of my students, it's not enough. I'm giving them Philadelphia. So they practice from Philadelphia. And this process takes us around 3 months to cover every single chapter they are in acing. And after we cover acing, we start practicing. And what is something different with SAT math? Every single exam date got one new concept added or got one new way of tricking the students. So we keep practicing more and more and exposing those students to those tricks, learning with them how to solve them, how not to be trapped by the SAT math. Because the skills they are testing, it's not math. They test our quantitative reasoning, how we reason based on numbers, our number reasoning. So it's not what they want, like rote formula memorizations or calculations. They provide us calculator. Desmo is the best calculator ever, and the formula references for volume, space, like surface area, everything is there. All what you need is like turn on your reasoning and find a way out. It's like a labyrinth you are thrown in, and you should find a way out using all the resources provided. So for the next 2 months of math practice, we are practicing past papers, some authentic blue book practice tests, and figuring out their weak points. And with students who are lagging behind, when sometimes their scores consistently are lower than their group mates, we have backup classes with them. We collect all those students from different groups and teach extra classes once a week or sometimes twice a week based on our availability, because some students really need more like interaction with the teacher than others. This is their nature. That's how they learn. They need more individualized approach. So if in our groups there are 12 to 15 students, we create a smaller group of 5-6 students of those who are lagging behind and offer them a couple of extra sessions until this score discrepancy gets fixed. So yeah.
It's quite a brilliant strategy. I like that.
Yes.
It really is. I feel like that's something lacking with at Astra SAT here. This is something you used to be part of yourself.
Yes.
I see our SAT teachers teaching regular classes, but I don't see any extra counseling sessions or what you call backup classes with our students. Something we need to keep up with you guys.
Yes. I mean, sometimes students, it's like a blocks that you use to build a certain construction, and if you miss one block in foundation, you cannot build a solid building. So, and with math, that happens quite unnoticeably. The guy feels like they understood it. They really did. They go home, they look at the exercises. They are far from understanding those questions. And they say sometimes, teacher, when you explain it, give your examples. I'm like the best mathematician. When I go home, open the book for exercises as if I don't remember anything. So it means that they did pseudo understanding, but really didn't get the deep message behind it, this deep concept behind it, logic behind it, and that's why they need some backups. So yeah.
Right. And it's a good thing that they have ChatGPT to supplement your tutoring. So in case they need solution to a problem, they can just drop it on ChatGPT and ask it for solutions, right?
And that's how it happens sometimes as well, because not always I am able to reach back to every single student.
Right, and getting 1600. And one last thing I want to ask you before we close this chapter and move on to the next is your reaction. We didn't really get to that part. Like, what was your reaction to seeing that 1600, that number?
Okay, so it was 2 days ago, Friday. I started my work at 2 p.m. So went to work, taught a class. Every now and then was checking my college board account to see if results are out, because sometimes they're out at 3, sometimes at 4, sometimes at 5. This time it was 5. So no results. Okay, I'm thinking, is it 1580? What if I made a stupid writing mistake and I never noticed it? What if it's like 1500 or 1520 or way lower than 1500. Because some of my students really love challenging me, saying that, teacher, you're getting 1250. Because I said exam was easy, and say you got easy modules because you messed up your module once and you are ending up with 1200. And my intuition never fails, and my intuition is telling that you get 1250. I say okay. And then my all like alumni, past students who took the exam but no longer taking our classes came. Just they wanted to shoot a video, prediction video, and then compare it to the real result. So they came for it. At the beginning, I decided to be in their video, and then I said, guys, no, because my prediction is 1600, and if it is not gonna be 1600, I will look arrogant, right? Someone who thinks they are perfect in this test. And some of them were in that video. It was a bit of noise there at school, and we kindly moved on with the class. I asked them, please now stop. Those who are not taking classes, you can stay in our class, participate, or please be out and wait for the results. The moment results are out, we're gonna checking them together. So we have to move with the class, because there are some repeat students as well. So they took the exam just to see, and they're taking it in March again. Usually 10th graders or someone who's planning on a gap year. So with them, we moved on with the class. We were moving on with the class, but I was not in the class. Like, intellectually, I wasn't there. I was thinking about the score. I was asking vocabulary questions. We always start with vocab. It's like reading classes, IELTS reading classes. Sometimes students say, you didn't change. Like, I'm feeling like I'm getting IELTS classes again. I thought like after getting IELTS, I'm done with vocab. Unfortunately, no, you're never done with vocab. I'm still never done with vocab. Whenever I watch something on YouTube, online, I get a word, I just write it down. Because what if I'm gonna get it in my future exam, and I just remember that I had this word but never looked it up? What kind of regret I will feel, right? So, and someone in the group chat texted, results are out. At that exact time, there was one more girl out there, not from SAT. She was probably taking SAFE or something like that. Results came out at the same time. That girl screamed. I thought one of our guys screamed there because of their SAT result. And turns out, no, after 2 minutes, results were out. I was checking it using my laptop. My laptop was connected to TV all the time, and students were sitting there waiting for their results, because results do not come out at exactly the same time. Like 1 minute earlier, 1 minute before, after 10 minutes. So in around 2 hours, all results get posted. So, but it was disconnected from the TV, and I just launched it. I thought before, if I'm gonna see that 16, I'm gonna scream. But the moment I got the 1600, I was like silent. I don't know, it was different level of shock probably. I was silent. I looked at my students. They were gazing at me. They didn't realize that results were out. I said, guys, it's 1600. Like, I said it this way, guys, 1600. And one of those ladies said, come on, my intuition told me that it's 1250, never lie. Connected to TV. And before I connected to the TV, it takes like milliseconds until it gets transmitted. Everyone was just in front of my computer and looking at that 1600, and everyone was screaming all the time. And I actually didn't want to post it right away because it causes a lot of noise and a lot of distraction, and you can't handle it. So I just wrote this 1600 using emojis on my channel just to warm the audience up. And I see the 1600 in another channel as well. One of my acquaintances who is also in the line of teaching SAT thought, turns out I'm not alone, guys. That's what I said to myself. I'm not alone. There is one more 1600 this time. Something special happened this December exam. And students screaming, send your result. You must be the first. Send your result. So I just sent my result because of those screams. Like you're not basically controlling yourself. They were screaming. I sent my result, screenshot of it. And that guy, my friend, just reposted my score. I said, what did you do, man? I was keeping it for night. I said, okay. So I just posted my result. Like, feeling was, it was kind of, I knew it. At the same time, I didn't expect it.
It feels surreal.
Yes.
It has to feel surreal.
Because right out of my exam, I said something in the range of 1600. But at the same time, just it being 1600, it in itself feels kind of impossible. So I felt in that state for a couple of hours and a lot of text messages. The moment I shared, a lot of people reached out, reposted, like you guys posted. I'm very honorable for that. So yeah, a lot of people start congratulating, and one guy texting, "Is that even real?" And I said, "I don't know. Should I spend $15 for College Board to send it to you?"
I'm surprised you actually got back to those messages, because usually when I get 9 overall and people reach out to me and saying all that, I don't usually get back to those messages until later in the day, like sometime midnight, right?
Well, the same here. I just got back to a very close circle of people, like friends, teachers, family. But I muted my mom's call because I knew she would probably cry and be overly emotional, because I usually share my exam like feeling experience with her more. Because with my dad, when I say like I have this one question in mind, he says you always have one question in mind. When it's gonna be 100% confidence, right? So I share it with her and said it's 1600 finally on Telegram, but didn't pick up her phone because I knew she would cry and get overly sensitive until I got back home. So yeah, that was the feeling there. Then we one by one started discovering student results. Most of them scored at around their prediction, like acceptable score and plus. But I here wanna take one step and say not all students got this 1200 plus. We got 20 students taking it, and around 5 failed to get this acceptable score. Not because they are not good, not because they are lagging behind, but because they were not yet ready. But most students, the 11th graders, they started very late, and December was their last attempt, unless they want to take a gap year. So they were pressurized, they were short on time, and they had to take it. Like I literally sitting with one of the guys and saying, "Buddy, you're not ready yet. Let's take it in March." And he's saying, "I'm ready to take a risk, teacher. If it works, I'm applying this year. I don't want to waste 1 year." It's still a gap year is thought of as a waste year, unfortunately, in our culture, especially parents never understand it. It's very valuable. Gap year is very valuable if you direct it into the right path, like of self realization. You kind of discover yourself. But for most parents, it's I don't know, like they don't get it simply.
They think you're a loser.
Yes, they are
They think
loser,
you're a loser
exactly.
if you take a gap year.
They force their kid even if they are not ready. Because usually when we are sharing results with parents, we draw those lines because they usually do not understand those numbers, what it means. So we draw lines like blue, green, and red. And those who are below red line, we don't recommend to take the exam anytime soon. But like 90% of red line students anyway took it, just saying the teacher, I must take the risk and I'm ready. And out of them, most of them failed. It's like red line students, most of them couldn't get this 1200 because magic doesn't happen. If you're not getting that score in the mock test, you're not gonna get it in the exam. Like there is no way. So yeah.
Of all the reactions you got from people, I'm really curious to know what your uncle's reaction was.
So with
How did he react when he found out you got 1600?
we actually talked with him via WhatsApp a couple of days ago, late night, and I was saying I retook it. Probably it's gonna be 1600 or 1590, something like that, really close to the perfect score. And this guy is on something new. He wants to go to Princeton, study at Princeton, and
You're talking about your uncle.
yes, he doesn't have any deadlines. He says things that I wanna study bachelor's degree at Princeton, and I'm ready to take as much prep as it takes. So I wanna start with SAT. Can you teach me like online? Like just give me some hints, and I will move on from that part myself. And he wants to retake it sometime next year and go to Princeton this time.
Your uncle is in his early 30s, right?
Exactly, 32.
He's 32, and this guy wants to go to Princeton. So anyone out there thinking they're in their mid 20s, thinking that they're late?
Yes, no,
It's not
it's never late. It's never late.
Yeah.
It's the right time. If you're still thinking about it, it's the right time to do it now. So yeah, and I forwarded my result to him. He said, "Well, I knew it. Good job. No flattery."
It's like, yeah, well, I knew it. Good job.
Yes,
He doesn't realize how big of a deal it is here in Uzbekistan.
the same with that student, intuitive student, right? Teacher, I knew that you're getting the 1600. I just wanted to challenge you, and challenging in challenging environments we grow. That was
Right.
her reaction. I felt it. She always says this way. I felt it 2 minutes ago before it was out. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Right. So one of the projects you've been obsessed with. I was gonna say involved, but clearly you're obsessed with it. Is your school Pinnacle?
Yes.
Right. Let's talk about that.
Well,
So, for
running.
those people who don't know, Mr. Parviz no longer part of the Astra team. We parted ways back in August,
Yes.
right? And he went on to found his own school, which was, I think, one of the. Here's what I think. Looking back on that decision, is one of the most mature decisions you made, because we made you a very tempting offer to stay here,
Yes.
right? A very tempting offer, and he set aside all the you know instant reward and glory, and went for his own venture, went on his own venture, and that takes a lot of audacity and courage,
Yes.
right?
And that was the day when I changed my phone wallpaper to something totally different. You wanna take a look?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I want to see that.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Let me turn off my sleep mode.
Hmm.
Here it is.
No risk, no story. Cool.
Yes.
Show it to the camera so people see it right there. So this guy zooms in.
To me, it was
What's that? Is that working? But it's recording, isn't it? Oh, are you taking a break? Mm-hmm. No, it's good. It's all right. It's all right. So there you go. People can't see it. That's what his wallpaper says. Let me guess. You got it from Alex Hormozy, because he talks about something like that in one of his
Yes.
podcasts,
Yes.
right? What he says basically is, go and try it. Even if you fail,
You learn.
you still succeeded because you walked away with a story,
Exactly.
right? Even if you fail, it is success because you walk away with a story. Is that what Alex Hormozy said, or Andrew Tate? One of those two guys, right?
So
But I'm guessing
let's
they
go.
got it from the same source.
Yes. So that was the
Hmm.
thing. I knew, like, I was not sure at that time. I was thinking that it's probably not the best decision I'm making.
Hmm.
But remember I'm texting you back my last decision. I was thinking, like, if
Hmm.
I'm gonna stay, I got this tempting offer which is very 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 great, and
Hmm.
probably I will be satisfied with myself.
Hmm.
I'll be just there working. I mean, not I wouldn't say not growing. Like every single part, every single teacher at Astra is ever growing because of all these experiences we gain, meetings, right? We have a lot of meetings at Astra.
Hmm.
We used to have a lot of meetings.
Oh, we actually had one before this podcast, and it
Yes.
was. I thought we were gonna wrap everything up in like 90 minutes, and we went on for 3 hours. Covered so many things. 3 hours.
Yeah.
3 hour, and the team is much bigger now, a lot bigger,
Exactly.
right?
So it was one of, to me at that time, one of the stupidest decisions I made.
Hmm.
But then the moment I started it independently,
Hmm.
I started feeling you.
Hmm.
I kind of started. I'm not saying that I feel you 100%,
Hmm.
but now I started feeling you firsthand. Like why to take those decisions, like why to take those measures at times,
Hmm.
and it was like me alone now in this kind of jungle. So no one is there coming for me if I make something wrong. No one is vouching for me. It's me and the student and their parents. So this trio, we should make it work. It's like partners. We are coming together. Now I'm first hand partnering with parents. Not like here, like it's usually Adastra and parents, but now it's me alone with that parent. If something goes wrong with that kid's score or with that kid's performance, or overall just the way he does at our school, it's me responsible. Not only like in front of parents, but also like in front of myself.
Hmm.
This guy, and I'm ultimately responsible for him and for his score. This realization, everything I started questioning my skills, and that's why I started preparing harder. So yeah.
Hmm. Right. And you started out as one person team.
One person team at the beginning.
So how many people you got on the team now?
3 now.
So
So
that's
it's
you.
Mr. Amir,
Mr.
guy who got
Amir.
8.5, 15-year-old, and 15, 20 on the SAT, and is a very good mathematician. Sometimes me and the students take his math classes. He's taking calculus BC, which is very difficult, beyond my mind. And yeah, this guy is
He's a next
genius.
level genius. Yeah,
Yes,
right.
he's genius. There is no way I can describe him.
When people say that I want to go to MIT and become a near aerospace engineer one day, I'm usually like, okay, we'll see about that. But when this guy says it, I know he means it. I know he
Yes,
means it.
and it's very likely. It's very likely he's gonna make it. He got enough time. He started at the right time, and now we have another guy, Mr. Shahrukh, who scored 1540 and IELTS 8. He's mainly our online teacher. He's now working in person at Pinnacle, but mostly with our online groups. Like with online groups, we co-teach them. So there is like 6 days. We teach them 2 classes per week. I teach reading, Shohrukh teaches writing, and Mr. Amir teaches math because no one can beat him in math. Yeah, sometimes I forward my students' questions to him because some questions are beyond the SAT scope, beyond the SAT's concepts. And sometimes when I struggle with them, I forward it to Amir and literally type back to the student saying, let's wait for Einstein's explanations. And who is that Einstein? So I wonder you're at Pinnacle for 3 months, you don't know our Einstein. It's just teaching next room.
A cool question. Can't you just have those questions answered on ChatGPT or?
Well, we can, but sometimes its explanations fail or explanations are quite advanced. Sometimes we send ChatGPT explanations to Amir to break it down to us.
I see. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm asking you that because I was thinking if I ever got into SAT and wanted to self-study, right? Am I gonna be okay without a tutor? If I ever need answering to some of my math questions, can I just do with ChatGPT, or am I gonna have to outsource it with a tutor?
Well, no need for a direct tutor, but I think there are really cool tutors out there. I'm just want to mention some of them, like
Yeah,
here.
sure.
Number one is like an old one, the one that I mentioned last time as well, STP Strategic Test Prep, Laura Whitmore. She's in this line of business for 15 years now. She's been retaking almost 4 or 5 times each year SAT, so count like it's 75 attempts, something like that.
Has she ever got 1600?
I'm not sure has she ever got about that, but last time November she got 1590, 790 in English and 800 math. I really love her math videos. She's good at predictions. She predicts basically exam questions. How Bluebook does this job, it renews its practice test by adding a couple of new questions before the exam, and usually those questions gonna be repeated in the real exam. She redoes the Bluebook quite frequently and notices those new additions and makes videos about their solutions. And this time I made use of her predictions and I really got one question. I would probably be cooked if I didn't learn it beforehand watching her video. And because of that, I got perfect score. Because otherwise, I'm quite sure under the exam, I wouldn't figure out the way of solving it.
So where can people find her?
She is on YouTube, STP Strategic Test Prep channel. She's the founder of STP, and at the same time, she is on Instagram, the same Strategic Test Prep. I want to mention one more cool, basically SAT tutor here, Katya. She got 1600 on traditional SAT. She used to be teaching reading to Wall Street business people back in 2010 or 2010 to 2015, and she's never been in this line of business, but she had a degree in education, teaching English specifically, and one of those guys reached out to her asking for his kids help with SAT, and she helped that guy score like 1500 something, and then this idea came to her mind. And after a couple of attempts, she got 1600. Now she's teaching students online. She's New York City based SAT tutor with around 10 years of experience now. I really love her vocabulary quizzes. She creates a lot of vocabulary quizzes. Like it's very accessible on Instagram rather than scrolling nonsense content. I sometimes scroll her feed and learn a couple of new words always, like words that I've never heard. Yeah.
Right, right. So going back to our discussion about your schools, you got 3 people on the team now, and who runs the admin side of things. Is that you?
Mostly me, yes. Mostly. We don't have this administrator now yet. So we are still growing. It's like a small startup yet. And sometimes I have like cool stories regarding this admin versus teacher thing. Sometimes parents call, like new parents call me from through phone call, phone number, and I start explaining stuff, how it works, and they say, "Can you please give me the number of the head teacher, Mr. Parviz? Want to talk with him?" See, at the end, and I just redirect them to my personal number and have this conversation again. So yeah,
Uh, yeah. Don't they recognize your voice, or is it
I
like,
mean maybe they do, but they never kind of like
why don't you just tell
admit
them
it
on the phone that I am that guy?
because they never ask. Like they never say, "Are you admin? Are you teacher?" They start asking questions right away. Is that Pinnacle? Yes. Tell me about your services. So yeah.
See, right. So, what are some lessons you've learned so far from running this school?
It's definitely more than teaching. It's a lot of logistical work, like creating schedules, and it's much tougher to do that than just teaching kids in classroom. I sometimes feel nostalgic about Astra teaching here. I was just a teacher in the classroom interacting with kids, doing all the interesting part of the work, but running the school got some boring stuff as well. Like you have to make up schedules, you have to go back to teachers and give them feedback as well, sometimes run meetings and participate in their classes and see what's missing or see what you can learn from them. So it's way more time consuming and way more, at the same time I would say, challenging, and that's why in that respect you learn more from it. I mean, skill diversification, like managing.
Right, you finally know what it's like being in my shoes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but on a much bigger scale. On a much bigger scale.
Exactly.
This is one of the toughest things I know from running this school at Astra. Now we have two campuses. Is it's not the timetable part. It's not the textbooks, the curriculum.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Quality maintenance.
No, that part is easy too. You can't standardize it, right? Just have guidelines and policies and make sure people follow them, right? The hardest part is staff management. It's the team building aspect of things.
Spirit.
It's the human resources, training them, and the working out conflicts between teachers, right? When things it's working out conflicts between the teacher and the student. So that is really the hard part, because it takes a lot of time. This is the part you can't standardize.
Exactly.
Like the timetables, you can. Quality control, you can with guidelines and policies. But the human side of things,
It requires one-on-one approach.
yeah, you need that old-fashioned sit down, proper talk.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and have the stamina to sit and listen to people. Right. Okay, I'm here to listen to you talk. Dump everything on me for another 10, 15 minutes, because they got a lot of problems. Students got a lot of problems. You need to listen to both parties, and then you got to try to get them on both page. It, try to clear the air between the two, and it's very much like being a divorce attorney. When you're a divorce attorney, right?
You decide on parties, how
Yeah.
they are lining with each other. Yeah.
That is the hardest part of, I guess, running a company, not necessarily a school, company of any kind. So where is Pinnacle headed next?
So now we are thinking of diversification soon, like not only offering SAT, but we are thinking of AP classes as well. But it's not gonna happen anytime this year, this academic year. We are planning it out for next academic year, 2025-2026, offering both online and offline AP classes so that students can take AP, study for APs here and take them here in Bukhara. Now there is only one learning center, innovative center in Samarkand. They offer AP courses and they offer AP exams. So I think we should bring it here to Bukhara as well. That's what I have in mind. Regarding the SAT, we are thinking of like diversifying our SAT services themselves, because in this line, when I've been teaching for 3 months, a couple of people like reach out, like they live abroad and they say, I don't need group sessions. I don't need online group sessions. Can you teach one-on-one? Can we have one-on-one sessions? Like, I'm willing to invest as much as I can, like time, resources, and I'm really short on time. I want to just get done with the SAT in 2 months, 1 month. I have very solid English, very solid math. I just need SAT things, SAT specifics. So we are thinking of offering those one-on-one classes because that's what I learned from Katya. She got one-on-one classes as well and mostly teaches one-on-one. And I think I've tried it at an experimental stage for December with a couple of students. It really worked good. It worked out good, one-on-one classes. And I think students gonna be more efficiently using their time if they come for a one-on-one class because they just settle their weak points. They only focus on their mistakes, and approach is gonna be more individualized, right? So we are, but it's not for everyone. I think group sessions are also good if you want to socialize because there is more about peer learning, stuff like that. But for some who need one-on-one approach, we'll be offering that as well starting new year.
But most probably it's going to cost twice as much.
Well, compared to group sessions, yes, but not compared to other individual courses already there. Compared to our group sessions, yes, it's gonna cost higher, but before setting the price, we've looked through several programs, one-on-one programs abroad, here, and sometimes group sessions, and I feel like this price for our one-on-one session is at times is lower than some other online classes, group classes still offered in Uzbekistan, I mean. So yeah.
Right.
But the thing is, as it's gonna, like you said, gonna be costing higher, we're not gonna be doing it like large scale. We're planning for now, to be honest, only pick 2 or 3 guys for March. We're gonna focus on 2 or 3 guys max. No more than that. It's not gonna be for everyone. It's gonna be only, we're gonna have a quite like a tough admission. Like out of those who fill out the form and vouch for this program, we're just gonna go with top 3 based on their stats, IELTS, and their previous SAT experience, because we should really make sure that their investment is paying off at the end. So yeah.
And your definition of payoff is 1,500 plus.
1,500 plus, exactly. It's only for those who are aiming for 1,500 plus, because it's not worth taking one-on-one classes if your goal is 1,400 or 1,800. You can take it with group sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very much like the AMA program. Coming into this program, we want to make sure you end up with an 8 plus.
Yes.
Yeah, even though that's not always the case. Right. Yeah, future sounds quite exciting. So you guys planning to grow vertically?
Exactly.
And a little bit horizontally too, which is the way to go. Diversification. Yeah. School. I'd like to ask you more about the school you found at Pinnacle, but I think we should keep it for round 4.
Yes.
Right. So you guys, you're barely 3 months old, right?
3 months old.
You're
yes.
3 months old. You're not that old school, so
all
I'm
3
sure you're gonna have a lot more stories and insights and experiences to share next time around. You're on the podcast,
Like
right?
next time 1,600.
Next time,
Or
600.
something else.
Yeah, something
popping
bigger.
out.
Why not? Or when you guys finally bring AP classes here, that'd be
Exactly.
worth a celebration.
Well, it was actually part of the motivation to score 1,600 to be here again on a podcast. And your invitation and one of my intuitive students guests came at the same time. Like the students looked at the score and said, another podcast teacher and said, I don't know, let's see.
Yeah.
And you're messaging me on Telegram, hey buddy, how
Yeah.
about round 3?
Yeah, round 3.
But you're really intuitive. I need your intuition in my next exam.
This is the whole purpose of this podcast. It is not just to provide a platform for bright minds like you to come in and share their experiences and serve as an inspiration to other students out there, but also it's our little way of celebrating these little wins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it serves as an incentive as well.
Yeah.
You want to be here,
Yeah.
get the perfect score, or do something really incredible so that you can share it with others. Right?
it's a form of acknowledgement for the work you're doing, right?
Yes.
Being given an opportunity to speak, to give to voice yourself is it's actually it means more than any monetary reward,
Of course.
right? And we're doing these podcasts with this perspective in mind, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I tell myself when I sometimes feel like just calling it quits. And this podcast project has been uh, this podcast thing. It takes up a lot of time, preparation, and the logistics and everything. But I'm telling myself, in 5-10 years time, this is a long term project. Long term project. We're not going anywhere with this podcast thing. And it's not just really about that. It's about
The process itself.
the process itself and the fact that I'm getting in touch with so many brilliant, talented, smart individuals coming and sharing with me and educating me, enlightening me.
It's like your way of encyclopedia.
Yeah, right. It's like rather than you going to a library comes to you.
Exactly.
That's what's happening here.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Now, what do you find yourself doing these days outside work, or is it just work, 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 work? Have you turned into one of those uh, workaholics?
Well, mostly yes, work.
Right.
And
So outside work, do you still hit the gym?
yes, I do. But what I figured out is actually, yes, I was actually thinking about it. There's still gonna be some part about the gym, right?
Uh-huh.
How to gym rats come along, never talk about gym, right? So what I figured is if I focus on my personal life, like gym, family, stuff like that, professional life slightly gets a little attention, less attention. If I focus on my professional, like work, score, like stuff like that, my personal life gets a little attention. And a lot of people say balance it out, but I don't think balancing is an option to go. What I feel is I need both. Sometimes I should focus more on personal life, sometimes more on professional life, like have intervals, those intervals. Sometimes I really have to explain it to my parents, to my family, that I'll be away, not physically but intellectually away, like mindfully away for some time. And sometimes I have to focus more on them. So it's not, now that I got this score, I have a couple of weeks, New Year time, focusing on family, then January 1st getting back to work. And I'm hitting the gym like not quite regularly these days, sometimes twice a week. And when it gets to like 3-4 times a week, it's a holiday week for me. So yeah, I'm finding way like in between of my lunch break. Sometimes I'm sacrificing lunch for the sake of gym, or sometimes dinner, sometimes late nights. And also what I'm doing, I'm gonna talk about two basically movies. I have just these two, not movies actually, they are series. Two series that really helped me in scoring, I think, perfect score. Because when you're late at night, very tired, already smashed by a lot of challenging guys questions, right? Why that? Why this? You cannot do any intellectual work. You should find a better way of like entertaining and educating yourself. So I asked myself, what does a SAT test? Knowledge of Old English. So why not to watch historical movies, like British historical movies or series? And I have two topping my list. And I watched these two series, all 5 seasons, and the second one, all 2 seasons, just a couple of weeks before my exam. And sometimes when people ask me, how did you get 1600? I say, I watched these two series. They're key to that. And number one is Adventures of Merlin. It's about sorcery, stuff like that in medieval times. It's like a young guy being an assistant to the king's son and helping him out with his secret magic, stuff like that.
How's that even a historical movie? It's all fiction, isn't it?
It is fiction, but it's happening in the basically connection with British history, because even the creation of it, like Arthurian legends, they are tied back to the book called History of Kings of Britain. So it got some factual basically info as well there. And what I mean by history, not factuality, but the language. They try to imitate those Shakespearean like language, stuff like that, and a lot of formal words that we never use. And these words sometimes appear on the SAT. So this was the reason I was watching it. I watched all those five seasons, around 60 series in around 2 weeks.
Well, and where do you watch them on Netflix?
Well, yes, Netflix. And BBC One also provides them, but it works mostly for British residents. I don't think if it works with VPN or not, but Netflix, yes. Second one is the ancient city of Atlantis. Again, the same team, BBC One team, created these episodes, the same storyline. It's about this Greek mythology of the city of Atlantis. And I watched it again because of a lot of fancy, cool SAT like words there. Yeah. Unfortunately, that one didn't went well, probably commercially. That's why they didn't continue it after 2 seasons. They stopped it. It's not the end. It never ended. They abruptly stopped because it probably didn't cover its overheads.
Yes, you do need that uh, intellectual break every now and then. Something important I realized I also need. I did kind of an experiment on myself the other day. I I realize a lot of the mistakes I make is because I'm not being mindful enough and I'm not conscious of the things I say or of the thoughts I have, right? So I got up one morning, I said, I'm going to be the most conscious possible today. And I did. From from brushing my teeth to eating, I tried being as attentive as possible. So how fast, how slowly I was chewing and the
So
words I was
nothing
making.
went autopilot.
No autopilot. I really wanted to try that and see if my day would be any different. First day was fine, right? I liked it. I actually kind of liked it because uh, I was more well put. I was more calculated in my speech, and that I made far better decisions, much better decisions, right? I tried it again the next day, hoping to get the same result. But guess what happened? My mind crashed.
Yes.
My mind crashed. And then later that night, I went home and I just started thinking, like, well, if being mindful doesn't help, doesn't work, it's not sustainable. If being on autopilot is not also the best way to go about life, then what's that? What's the so it made me realize that you need a combination of both,
Yes.
right? Because you can't always go on full mindful mode because it's mentally draining. It
And
tires you out, right? You might literally crash. And there's a reason why our brain shuts off when we're brushing our teeth or when we're tying our shoelaces or when we're texting on the phone, scrolling. It is our coping mechanism to information overload,
exactly.
to
Yes.
all this input data. Our brain just can't handle all this, right? So now I realize the right way to go is the balance. You need to balance both. Well, maybe not necessarily balance. Maybe like 80% be conscious and 20% just
Autopilot.
autopilot, or let your mind cool off. Right?
Yes.
Do your favorite thing, eat your favorite food, watch your favorite TV show, but
And
don't
get
go
back.
overboard with it. As long as you don't go overboard with it, there's no harm in that.
Yes.
Right?
Sure.
That's what I'm thinking. It's important. So we're over 2 minutes. It's nearly 3 hours, right? I guess we are about to finish this podcast, but before we do that, you know our tradition here, right? Final part, the final segment is the
Philosophy.
philosophy. And you probably already know my questions. So today, what I'm going to ask you instead is not what your personal philosophy. I'm going to ask you what changed.
What changed?
That's what I'm going to ask you. Is your philosophy still the same?
Well, there are some additions, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes, I still think that we should keep learning all the time. Nothing changed in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
But where I literally realized that everything is fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
We should live in the moment and never make like get overconfident, because we are always, like, remember your words, we are always away, one accident away from basically our current state. We might fail. It's just one accident is a determining factor in our life. So it means that we are powerless. Like, there are a lot of things happening out of our control. Things might go wrong way sometimes, not the way we planned. So we should be open to them, to open to those changes, like out of control stuff happening, and we should be expecting them. Like, never think that if it's going good, it's gonna go good tomorrow. If it's all well now, doesn't mean that it's gonna be all well in the future.
You know the teacher I went to see today who got into a traffic accident? So she's a young bright girl. She's 18, 19 or something, right? Working here part-time. She's brilliant and her students love her. She she got a scholarship at university and she won another scholarship on top of that. And got tuition fee waiver to her master's, right? And
See.
look what happened next.
Yes.
It's kind of life's way of telling you not to,
Be humble.
right? And I don't think she did anything wrong. I don't think she was cocky or prideful or any of those things. It's just there's always some kind of accident or danger lurking in the dark, waiting for the right opportunity, and you never know when that opportunity, you know, when that thing happens to you. So and that this situation teaches you to, to keep moving in life, but do it cautiously, do it carefully, really, really carefully, and try to make the most of what you have now.
Exactly. Be grateful for what
And
you
be
have
grateful.
now.
Yes. Be grateful. You're right. And advice for your younger self, still same thing? What would you tell your younger self?
So I would just say, keep working, keep
Yeah.
pushing. The moment you realize that you are the best, you just realize that you are the actually not the best. You are the worst actually, and keep pushing. There are millions of new things we should still learn. And if I'm like able to speak to my young self now, buddy, we've done it partly, but there are way more things we should do.
Yeah, right. The 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 peak of the peak of one mountain is the bottom of another.
Exactly.
That's what they
yes.
say. The peak of one mountain is the bottom of another. Right. And one last question for today is actually an addition. You didn't have this question before last time you were here. Is what's one message you have for your future self?
One message that I have.
Because I'm guessing you're gonna come back and watch this podcast, right? So
Yes.
is this camera working? It is working. So you can look in the camera. And
Okay.
so, what would you say to this Parviz who will be watching you?
I would probably ask questions.
Uh-huh.
So are we still working? Are we still working to those standards? Are we still sticking to those values we've set at the beginning of the path? If not, buddy, you better change it because you're stepping to the failure. Stick to the basics. Stick to the basic values we've established at the beginning. If not, there is no way I can admit you're my future.
Right. You hear that, future
Yes.
Parviz? Stay grounded.
Or shade your identity.
Yeah.
Don't bear my name out there.
Yeah. The future Parviz. We'll keep those points in mind. All right, Mr. Parviz, do you have any final remarks you want to make before we end this podcast?
Well, I just wish you all success in this line of work. We are all collaborating. Like it's the good work we are keeping up, and I wish that we all be sticking to our standards and delivering our best to the community and helping those young guys score high on their SAT results. And it's just a step in the admissions. Don't post that they've got 1,500. Not in Harvard yet. It's just a step of it, and we are proud of helping them in that basically tiny step of their admissions. So yeah, I wish I'll be back
Oh, yeah.
next September with APs.
Absolutely. I am super grateful to you for coming on the podcast today and sharing with us your joy, your experiences, and your insights, and all the knowledge we gained from you today. We cannot thank you enough. And I hope to see you on the podcast once again. Thanks a lot, Mr. Parviz.
Thank you too. Bye, everyone. Have a nice one. Have a nice watch.
Yeah. All right, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like our content. And this is the least you can do to support this channel. Subscribe to us and leave your comments in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.